Hello, my friends. I believe that if I have done everything correctly, I should now be live. I just feel like noting that it really irritates me how every time... Oops, and then I have my thing open in the background. Oh, dear. One day I'm going to remember not to do that, oh well. So yeah, it really irritates me how whenever I start to stream, it takes YouTube a minimum of about 45 seconds to properly establish a connection to my OBS. Super duper late. I'm literally right here, you moron. I apologize for not being around yesterday because basically I had a cold last week, and it kind of went weird places. It went away. It's one of those weird things where I get a cold and I feel perfectly fine for about 4 or 5 days after the symptoms last for about 2 or 3 days, and then they seem to go away. And then suddenly, with no warning whatsoever, they come back again, which is just always a massively annoying thing. We've got a fair amount to cover today. I also do apologize in advance because it may well be that there are some odd background noises every now and again because there is a huge amount of bad weather at the moment. It is currently a raging storm outside, and it looks like some of the YouTube stuff is already going weird. We've got a ton of stuff to cover. I will just look over because, you know that video that was released a couple of years ago, the very dangerous to our democracy video, which was just it was like a collage of all of these news operators, of these news channels on TV, all very obviously reading from the exact same script to the point their voices were practically perfectly synchronized. Well, I'm seeing a bit of that right now. You might have noticed the Liberals' online hate bill contains $70,000 fines for speech and life imprisonment for hate crimes thing in the thumbnail. Well, yeah, that's not a joke, and you'll never guess where the hell it's supposed to be from. You'll never guess, guys. You'll never guess. Let me just switch over. I've quite a few tabs to get through tonight. There's a decent amount of stuff that I'd like to talk about, but then we will get on to the Niji Sanji L Collection, which I've personally been quite interested in getting into because it reminded me of all sorts of stuff that I vaguely knew had happened, but my ADHD brain had just pushed out of my head. But here we go. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this wonderful, lads? In a move aimed at curbing the spread of what it terms online hate, the Liberal government of Canada has revealed its plan, including hefty fines for online speech and stringent punishment, including up to life imprisonment for hate crimes. The centerpiece of this initiative is the proposed Online Harms Act, details of which were unveiled during a technical briefing released to reporters on Monday. Among the categories of harmful content identified in the acts are materials that incite violent extremism or terrorism, promote violence or foment hatred. The bill will include amendments to the criminal code aimed at addressing hate crimes more effectively. The Online Harms Act, also known as Bill C-63, was tabled by Liberal Minister of Justice Arif Virani, that's a very Canadian name, definitely, in the House of Commons on the same day. These amendments include the introduction of a standalone hate crime offence applicable across all criminal offences, with penalties extending up to life imprisonment. Maximum punishments for existing hate propaganda offences are also set to be increased substantially. And there's a whole lot of stuff here, etc., etc. These are some of the lovely comments about it. New standalone hate crime offence that would apply to every offence in the criminal code and in any other act of parliament, allowing penalties up to life imprisonment to denounce and deter this hateful conduct as a crime in itself. Imagine going onto the internet in Canada and leaving a comment on some trans male's Canadian live stream, and then they just sue you and can sell anything under the guise of progressivism. Yeah, I mean, this is just complete insanity. You just look at it and you can't understand it. Why am I being beeped already? Imagine a VTuber. Oh yeah, there's a small indie VTuber as well this is somewhat relevant to this, who has very much been one guide. I posted it in the Discord. Let me actually pivot away from this for a second to highlight it, because this was literally something that I saw moments ago. Moments ago. Where is it? Yes, here it is. This delightful lady. I have absolutely no experience with this woman whatsoever, by the way. However, she is obviously a VTuber. She is Crystally VT, and this is her Nice to Meet You. Yes, that's February 7th. Apparently, this is her redesign. She has a fluffy tail, so I'm automatically biased in favor of her. And she says here in this tweet, "My stream is cancelled after not even 30 minutes live. I'm extremely disappointed. Please don't come to my chat and say you prefer my older model or make remarks that the new model looks like a child. I don't care if it's a joke, it's not funny. What the actual F is wrong with you? You have nothing nice to say, then just don't say anything. My model is literally based off my IRL self. Tiny women love. As such comments hurt, so such comments hurt even more. How do some of you lack so much common sense? I'm genuinely tired of people thinking I'm okay with such jokes and with joke bullying all the damn time." Now, I think this is her. Yeah, if this is her new model, this actually reminds me quite a lot of Hills VT, who I quite enjoy because she has many fluffy tails. This actually, I might look out to the model designer because I'm not sure who made these, but it seems to be fairly similar to Hills. But yeah, this is not a child. This is very clearly not a child model. It's quite absurd. What on earth's that? Any more pictures of her? I don't think so. But yeah, if you look at this design and think, yeah, this is an underage character, that's rather absurd. I mean, that's like, let me literally just hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's at least 6.5 heads. So that, that throws the head scale thing out of the window already. Like, that woman is a minimum of 6.5, maybe 7 heads tall. And I mean, look at those legs. I mean, how many young teenagers have legs like that, gentlemen? That's my question. Is there a clip of her rage quitting? I don't think so. 5,600 subs, so she can still get so bothered. Joshua Moon approved. But yeah, I posted this, and I actually reposted this because I was like, I really hate it when, again, I do not like lolly. I am not a lolly fan in any capacity. I think that lolly is a very, very dangerous slippery slope, especially if it is in any way explicit. However, at the same time, it's one of those things that I find that progressive types are absolutely insane about. I just don't understand it. How they've gone from saying, this look, lowly porn is bad. Like, this image of a character that is explicitly drawn to resemble maybe a 10 or 12-year-old girl at most, getting very lewd things done to her. This is bad, which I can agree with. I think that's a rational thing to do. But then they go from that to saying, oh, anime style in general is degenerate. And hey, a lot of anime stuff is degenerate. But then they go, oh, any anime character, even anime characters that are literally based on the face scans of real Asian women, are underage and is lolly bait. Which, it's just so extremist. Like, these kinds of people have this ability to take a cause that I have certain fundamental agreement with, and then turning it into something that I have no desire to engage with in any way, because it is witch hunting. It is completely insane witch hunting. It's just a Trojan horse for thought crime. I agree, Luminous. That is exactly how it is. It is... it's so depressing. It's so depressing, and it's so depressing trying to talk to normal people about this, because to somebody who is not mired in internet culture, and to somebody who is not constantly mentally aware of the kind of doublethink that these people engage with, if you go out and you try and talk to people about saying, oh, there are insane people on the internet that are trying to get anime women banned, then they'll just go, oh, what's lolly? Oh, it's fictional drawings of children. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's ban it. I'm okay with that. Trigger point, minor coded. Yeah, exactly. Like, they see the surface thing. It's like the Black Lives Matter thing. You can't say Black Lives Matter is bad, because then you are saying Black lives don't matter. It's this usurpation of language, and it's this policing of tone that makes any position impossible to argue against, because you can't say anything without immediately them strawmanning you, in a way that, to somebody who has no knowledge of the nuances of the situation, seems at least vaguely plausible if they are not used to these kind of tactics. Someone says, Loli is definitely weird, but I've seen too many actual anti-exploitation orgs begging people to stop reporting it and wasting their resources not to get too worked up about it personally. I agree. I mean, I know a very small amount about child exploitation cases just from my contact with social services because of my autism and related activities. And so I know the exhaustion on social workers' faces when you talk to them about genuine real issues. It's one of the few things that I think you almost can't strawman, because the reality of how bad the situation gets is almost, it's a bit like when Kirsha talks about her childhood. I've said this to her at least twice by now, that her life would be a hilarious black comedy if it wasn't completely real. You can't really describe to a normal person how bad these issues actually are unless they have come in some sort of contact with it themselves. And to have normies who have, again, it's this problem where these people have no real understanding of the pain and suffering that actually goes on in the world. They lead very sheltered lives with very few causes worth fighting for. And so they take on these banal and meaningless causes. And yet, you know, none of these people, it's funny. This is actually something that just came to me, right, just think about. I've seen none of the same kind of people that scream about loli porn being child pornography. I have seen precisely zero of those accounts talk about Vaush and his activities, the Great Horseman, and his discussions of how, oh, it's theoretically possible for a child and an adult to have a relationship that benefits the child. I've not seen one of those accounts go to Vaush's stream or anything like that and say, look, Vaush is a terrible person. You notice very quickly how these accounts will just yell on and complain about these one issues with random people, and yet the moment that somebody big who is vaguely connected to their sphere of politics does something that is obviously in violation of the very ethical arguments they've just made, they just ignore it. They don't even acknowledge it. The Matsuri Horseman, yeah, I know. I was actually looking, it's hilarious because I watch Glenn Greenwald, and Glenn Greenwald actually, he's been interacting a bit more with political streamers, because he went on the zero, was it Zero Hedge? I think it was Zero Hedge, like the Zero Hedge debate between him and Destiny, and the other two people, like Alex Jones, that lawyer guy, and those Krasenstein brothers. And like Glenn Greenwald is somebody whose views I don't completely agree with, but I do have immense respect for the level that he has been willing to delve into the dark reality of all the subjects that he covers. And watching him go over people like Destiny's arguments for Jan 6, and also Vaush and his lolly attractions, and also now he did a segment about Hassan Piker complaining that being a streamer is one of the most demanding jobs you can possibly be. It's just glorious. I love everything that he does because he just has this ability to use his experience and his knowledge to skewer the talking points of these fundamentally sheltered and pathetic individuals. Let me, by the way, I've just realized that my stream elements is showing top chat instead of live chat. Luminous, it's still insane that it took Vaush's porn stash getting leaked for a lot of people to take offense with him, like being an unironic commie wasn't enough. I mean, you've only got to look a tiny bit at Vaush's content to realize that this man is absolutely insane. It's like because this was one of the things that Glenn Greenwald actually played. I think it was? I forget, I might be. He is attacking the bread tubers now. I mean, Glenn Greenwald hates the traditional liberal establishment at the moment. He absolutely despises them because they have just gone completely the opposite way to how their stated mandate used to be. They're pro-government, they're pro-censorship. I mean, granted, the Republicans are as well. I mean, I like Glenn Greenwald because he does strike out at both sides. He skewers the Republicans on their, like, pro-Israel stance, and he skewers the liberals on their pro-censorship and so on attitudes. Which is why I respect him, even though I don't agree with him 100%. I feel that I have no problem with people who have different ideas politically from me, even if they're fairly extreme political ideas, if they are willing to be at least a bit intellectually honest. Vaush's presentation in itself is a filter. I agree. I mean, I have absolutely no idea why anyone would enjoy watching Vaush or Destiny or any of those kind of people. Didn't he start hating them because they kind of took over his company that he made? Yes. Is that he had The Intercept. I believe he founded The Intercept, and then basically The Intercept was taken over by Never-Trumpers. Destiny is decent on a lot of topics, but Trump has rotted his brain. I mean, this is why I advise Kirsche against trying to reach out to people like Sargon and so on, even though, and Tim Pool, even though she still respects their positions on many things, because as I see it, the problem is that these people are just as bad as those they critique because they don't take their arguments to their logical conclusion. And we see that especially on October, like in October when Palestine attacked Israel, is that all of the right-wing pundits who had spent the last 3 or 4 years saying that leftist censorship was extremely invasive and should not be tolerated, that free speech was a core principle of all their platforms, pretty much every single one of those people turned right around and said, nope, we need to censor the internet because people are saying bad things about Israel. And that was a real wake-up call for me, because previously I had been pretty on board with a fair... I mean, I am not political. I do not vote. I am not political. But in terms of overall moral outlook, I was more or less reasonably aligned with the principles that were being espoused by the right wing overall. When it came to things specifically such as self-ownership and anti-censorship, and to see these people fling all of that away the instant it became politically expedient to do so, really pushed me away from even tangential association with politics. And it's why I like Glenn Greenwald, because he is completely frank and open about things being completely screwed no matter which side of the uniparty you go to. And it's exactly the same in Britain. Do you vote Labour or do you vote Conservative? They're two sides of the exact same coin. It's just the speed of which they want to implement their ridiculous totalitarian policies. Vaush, Hassan, and their ilk are what we call the socialists of coffee shop here. I agree completely. My main issue with Vaush is that he has a lot of kids watching him and getting brainwashed. I agree. It disturbs me. There's somebody that I know who actually watches Hassan an awful lot, who is a very interesting person. Please listen back to the first 15 minutes of this stream and tell me about you not being political. I mean, my major issue is that pretty much that politics, there is politics and there is politics. And I think that understanding the meaning of words is very important, because politics is really nothing more than the art of persuading other people to support the causes that you believe in. So in a way, everything is political. But at the same time, you can take that phrase, everything is political, and twist it in an awful different number of different ways. Because if you have a stand or a principle on something, then trying to influence other people, even in the most informal way, just discussing with your neighbors basic things about, how you think that your house should be run and so on, is political. And I have no problem discussing these ideas with people. But my problem is when it turns into a vehicle for saying, oh, we agree on these things, so now go and vote for my candidate, which I don't agree with. Guildmage Troy, there are active schisms in US politics because we're in the process of going into the 6th or 7th American party system, so the coalitions are trying to form to figure themselves out. I mean, again, I live in Ireland, and I live in Ireland mostly because the government and the people are very separate, and I enjoy it that way. It is tragically changing, and the government in Ireland is going much the same way as it does in the rest of Europe, because EU influence, yay. But, I mean, my reaction when it gets too bad is to move to somewhere more remote. I will never try and engage with the political structure of a country that I'm in, because for a variety of reasons, that I won't get into too far here. But, again, my only political affiliation would be simply to say that you have to have the ability to express yourselves. And I'm aware I've tangented on this a bit too much, so I will get back on topic with this woman, because we looked through this. Oh, somebody has sent me somebody has sent me a... Okay, that's very interesting. Short has sent this. Now, unfortunately, can I... Give me a second, because this message has been sent to me on Discord, and it contains a video, and I need to do a tiny bit of finagling to actually get it to work. Let me just mute myself so I make sure... Let's get it to work. Here we go. No, that just makes it download. That's annoying. Okay, so I can only play this... That's annoying. Oh well. I'll play this audio. Because it's just her... It's basically just her face. Just keep up with the island hopping. The problem isn't having a political opinion. It's becoming a partisan, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. That's pretty accurate. You can't let politics dominate your life, because the moment politics dominates your life, the politicians have won and you have lost. So I will play this anyway. Hopefully the volume is correct.
To be honest, I like the older model.
Oh, this guy wants all the smoke, bro. I'm leaving.
Do you know how not to be rude in my chat? Like, what the fuck?
I thought you were gonna push them, bro.
How can you, like, how do you think that is something okay to say on a stream?
Yeah, of course.
Bro. I'm out. Fuck this shit, man.
Are you serious? That was it? That was seriously... Yeah, I was getting to this, but, yeah, originally I was very on this woman's side. As I said earlier, I do think that the kind of people that say, oh, lowly models are all children, or young, or models that don't have giant breasts are all children by default, are just absurd and insane. But, again, let me play that again, because I think that was very, very quiet. Or not all of it, but...
Okay to say on a stream. How can you, like...
Okay, for context, Dead Stephen XD. Oh, thank you very much for joining the asylum, by the way. I appreciate that. Let me turn myself off studio mode so I can actually see my own alerts. There we go. So, yeah, Dead Stephen XD. This is the chat message. TBH, I like the older model. That's the only comment in her stream that is talking about the young model. Let me just fast forward a little bit. Yeah, there's one more comment here that I will read out. Evil Maximilian says, I like both, but this one makes me feel like a criminal, if you know what I mean. Now that's a little bit worse. I will agree that was probably a little bit over the line. But after she gets those two comments, she ends the stream immediately. It's just an opinion, lady. Geez, imagine getting one guide over that. Yeah. Now, if this person had like 10 or 15 different people all calling her a child enjoyer or a spreader of child pornography, then I can understand being, especially for a woman, being distressed and upset enough to end the stream. But for exactly 2 people, as far as I can tell, to say that, yeah, you need to grow a thicker skin. You need to grow a much thicker skin if you are going to be... Are those membership badges they both have? I'm not sure. I can't tell, I'm afraid. Somebody else would have to say that. Let me have a drink. But yeah, that's quite absurd. So yeah, my opinion of this woman goes down immensely, knowing that she allowed herself to literally get one guide. The fluffy tail is no longer enough to hold my absolute attention. Let's have a look at some of the comments as well. I'm feeling... Yeah, here she says, I'm feeling a bit better. I want to reply to everyone. Your comments made me cry. But first and foremost, I want to thank you for all the kind replies. It honestly saddens me that more people have dealt with similar stuff. The users were banned. I was genuinely shocked to... as these members, yes, so they are members, who were always active and supportive in my streams, and even though they'd always broke around, I never thought they'd go this far with their words. Being compared to a child is something I've always dealt with, as my body is very small IRL. This happening with a model was one of my biggest fears, and one of the reasons my past models all had huge dogs. I hope that models with smaller complexions can stop being seen as less valuable or attractive or as childlike. To the people that watch streamers and may be reading this, remember to be kind to others. You never know what someone may be going through. Thank you for your support. Again, like, I sympathize with the concept of being personally attacked over your choice of model. This is just Twitter pity farming. I agree. You can't stream if you're going to be this emotionally vulnerable. Yeah, getting banned from a community and streamer you actively support because of banter. I agree. You can't be affected by this. You cannot allow yourself to be affected by these kinds of comments. And it doesn't matter if it gives you some kind of internal fear. It doesn't matter if it triggers you, because honestly, there are some things that you could say to me that I would immediately be viscerally upset by. There are certain topics that I find to be repugnant and would immediately recoil from. But if, say, 5 or 10 people showed up in this chat and started spamming that stuff, my reaction would not be, oh, guys, I'm sorry. Guys, I just can't take it. I can't take it. I've got to end stream. I'm sorry. I can't take this. I'm literally crying IRL right now. No. You would all be perfectly justified to say to me that I had overreacted and that I was a pussy for not keeping up streaming and just ignoring it. Super duper, you have to forgive her for being a woman, Proctor. They will try to filter you with dumb opinions and overly sensitive behavior. Rin does this all the time. You must persevere. That is a very, shall we say... Now, I don't scream misogyny very often, but saying a woman just filters you with dumb opinions and overly sensitive behavior, that's a little bit insensitive, super duper. Gura is literally the biggest streamer. I mean, she's not the biggest streamer because she doesn't stream. But yeah, I mean, again, Gura kind of gets triggered by this too, because I mean, look at her streaming activity. Although, in Gura's case, I can understand, because the Chumbuds are some of the most insane people that I have ever seen in my entire life, and get filtered. Why not? You've got plenty of choices that won't try to filter you. Yeah, that's another good reason. Because if you are an indie VTuber, I don't know what her CCV is, but I mean, she's got something like 5k followers or whatever. Doing some digging, I found what her original model seemed to be leaning towards. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look. The concept for Crystal VT new design, the design was a collaborative effort. I just wanted to help Crystal bring her idea to life and rotate through ideas and concepts. I mean, that reminds me, I'm going to be really mean here. I'm going to be really mean. This design reminds me of a Bratz doll. I mean, I know that it's just a concept, but yeah, that is not an attractive model, I'm afraid. That's not attractive. I mean, the stuff that I saw in the clip that she just played, that's a nice model, and that design sheet and reference, but Lamau perfect comparison, yes. See, the thing is, the hilarious thing is, I remember Bratz dolls with absolute vivid clarity because, for some reason, when I was a teenager, I used to browse TV tropes a lot, and this was before I learned about ad block. And for some insane reason, I would constantly get recommended adverts for Bratz dolls on TV tropes. I don't understand why, but but that is why the comparison is just seared into my memory. Cheeky brats need design correction. It looks like something that would be made in Flash. Yeah, and let me just emphasize that this is not the model that she is currently using. This is just a design sheet or something, or a concept. Because this woman, this is the model that she is currently using, or at least this is the concept for it. And the clip that I cannot play because it is on Discord, she looks nothing like this. She looks absolutely nothing like this. But yeah, that is a bit of an awkward design model, I'm afraid. And Short just pinged me on Discord saying, the TBH I like the older model guy got banned, but Evil Maximilian, the guy who said I like both but this one makes me feel like a criminal, if you know what I mean, that guy did not get banned, which is quite entertaining to me. Flash paper doll, that's quite possible, as long as you still aren't playing with dolls. I never had, unless you count Gunpla and Frame Arms Girls and derivatives as dolls, then perhaps the Maximilian guy negotiated his freedom. That's possible. I did used to, there was a game that I actually used to play when I was quite young, like 10 or 12. Because I live in a house with two fairly expressive and artistic people, when I finally move away from my parents' dwelling place, I need to share some pictures with you of the kind of house that I live in, so you will understand why I am the way that I am, because... And I can't show them because our house is so incredibly visually unique that it would pretty much dox me just to show the interior immediately, because a determined person could absolutely find my house simply from the kind of photographs that people have taken from it and shown on Facebook. Your plastic crack dolls, I agree. I could see Proctor being a ball... I think that stands for ball-jointed doll sicko, TBH. Not quite that large. Yeah, ban and move on. This feels like playing the victim too much. I mean, she's a woman. But yeah, my only advice, again, I don't necessarily think that this person is massively at fault. I can understand if you're not used to that kind of thing, and if it's a sensitive subject for you. Again, you can have a woman moment about this stuff, fine. That's okay. But my sincere advice to this person, on the very, very unlikely chance they watch this stream, is that you need to seriously consider the fact that this is probably going to happen again. And you are going to have to develop a thicker skin when you stream. And I'm not saying, oh, this is something that I think, as an evil masculine man, think that you should do. No, it's just default for all streamers. You have to get used to this kind of thing, because people will say stupid and mean things at times. You have no other option. You can either, your choices are to toughen up and deal with it, or live in perpetual fear and misery of somebody saying something mean to you on the internet. And it's not dignified to not have a thick skin. You'd have gained much more kudos and respect if you'd laughed at those people, or if you just insulted them back. If you'd made a yo mama joke or something, like, people would be entertained by that, and they would have more respect for you. Luminous chat aren't people, treat them like a funny box that says weird things. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and Arclight also, she has shown weakness now. Precisely, you can't show weakness on the internet. If you're in entertainment, people will come after you because you breed. Precisely. This is what I find depressing about the VTuber scene, is that you have a lot of people who are good entertainers but bad at dealing with criticism and critique and so on. And I think that to be a streamer in current year, I would say you need some kind of public relations training. It's mandatory. You either need it beforehand or you learn it on the job. And if you don't learn it on the job, you fall to pieces. And we've seen that. We've seen streamer burnout. We've seen streamers just lose themselves completely because of this nonsense. And I find it's depressing, but it is a harsh reality. You can't censor, you just have to learn and adapt to it. 1 second, please. Let me blow my nose. I'm still very slightly got this cold, so I need to blow my nose occasionally. Also, lots and lots of snakes that do behind-the-scenes hate campaigns. I mean, I agree. There's a clip of Crimson Ruse from Holostars absolutely humiliating a troll before banning the guy. Gigadramon6, if you're in the Discord, I would love to see that clip. Do a year of working the room at a comedy club, then you should have a thick enough skin to take anything from online. Yeah, that's actually that is genuinely not a bad idea. Like, sincerely, that is not a bad idea. You should go out. Mind you, most streamers are streamers because they are absolutely existentially terrified of interacting with human beings in person. But yeah, go out to an IRL comedy club and do some stand-up. And, you know, improv on the stage, and get used to people heckling you. Because when you can walk out of a bar after having everybody, like, yell at you and boo at you to get off the stage, then you're ready for streaming. If you can stand in a crowd that is laughing at you rather than with you, and walk out and not feel upset by it, then you are ready for streaming. If you are doing streaming because you cannot face that kind of thing in real life, it is just going to affect you online. That's just reality, and you can't escape it no matter how much you try. But anyway, let's move off this. I apologize for having this come up so much on the stream, but it did happen very briefly, shortly before the stream, and I really did want to cover it, because I think it is quite relevant. Let's go back right now to, because this is quite a long bill here, so I'm not going to read all of it. But for those that are new here, I have just been going over this Liberals online hate bill in Canada, which contains up to $70,000 fines for speech and the potential of life imprisonment for hate crimes. And remember, in Canada, hate crimes cover stuff that, well, I can't obviously give an example because of how YouTube is, but yeah, if you don't think that it's a hate crime in another country, it's probably a hate crime in Canada. The text of the bill defines content that foments hatred, and I find this particularly relevant because we have an identical bill here in Ireland. I actually don't even know if it's still being considered. It might have been struck down or it might have gone into law. I don't know. But once again, total media blackout on it. But content that foments hatred, as any content that expresses detestation, that's a terrible word, or vilification of an individual or group of individuals on the basis of a prohibited ground of discrimination within the meaning of the Canadian Human Rights Act, and that, given the context in which it is communicated, is likely to foment detestation or vilification of an individual or group of individuals on the basis of such a prohibited ground. For greater certainty and for the purposes of the definition, content that foments hatred, content does not express detestation or vilification solely because it expresses disdain or dislike or discredits, humiliates, hurts, or offends, adds the government. Now, this sounds like a good thing, so they're not just saying everything. And I will say this, it's nice that they're not trying to just tell WhatsApp to give over all the information. But, however, you go down here, anybody, and I assume that when they say anybody, they mean citizens and non-citizens, because, you know, it's a liberal country. Anybody will also be able to file complaints against others for posting hate speech online that is discriminatory against protected categories such as gender, race, disability, and others. Amendments to the Canadian Human Rights Act will let anybody file complaints against persons posting so-called hate speech with the Canadian Human Rights Commission. If found guilty, the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal can order those found to violate the government's definition of hatred with fines up to $70,000 and take down orders for content. Just let me have a drink. Now, this is another scary thing. The tribunal will also have powers to hide the identity of those who bring complaints against anyone whom they deem as to have posted online hate speech. Additionally, it can compel those who face complaints to not reveal the identity of those involved upon discovery. So basically, you will not be allowed to confront your accusers. Oh, this is going to be abused until it's unenforceable. I honestly hope so. Luminous, 90% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the US border. The Leaves are clearly plotting invasion. I just don't like them jailed. It sounds good, but it's a trap to abuse all opposition and especially political power. Some races, genders, and sexualities, all except one, I guess. I mean, the thing is that now we've reached a point where if you are homosexual and you are right-wing, then you are no longer a member of the protected class that is homosexual. Because that's now the revolution. Remember, the revolution must always move further left. Now that gays have been accepted into regular society, now that homosexuality has been decriminalized and it is illegal to speak out against homosexuality in any capacity, then gays are no longer a de facto protected class. If you're a leftist and you're gay, if you completely buy into all of the leftist, propaganda, then if you're leftist and you're gay, then you're only a protected class if you also agree that transsexuality is a thing and it is 100% accepted in all cases. Whereas we know that if you are homosexual, if you are a lesbian, for example, if you are a lesbian and if you are a leftist, if you are a staunch leftist in all manners, but you don't want to have non-female presenting men who claim to be transsexual into your changing rooms, then you are automatically a right-wing extremist and you will be treated as such. Your sexuality means absolutely nothing any longer. I know Canadians, they hate this too. The Liberals will still get a minority government. I know, this is the insanity, is that I don't know any Canadian, any citizen of Canada who is in favour of any of this. And yet, and this is why, again, this is why I don't bother to vote, because it's obvious at this point it doesn't matter. You can vote as much as you like. Somehow, the people in power will stay in power. Arclight, because it was never about equity? No, it wasn't. It was no. Well, it's about equity, but their definition of equity is very, very different from the traditional definition of equity, because again, the words do have different meanings, and they have different meanings. So let me just move that up because I've noticed there's an annoying little thing there. Trans lesbian lives matter. I also can people hear the rain through my microphone? They probably can. The rain is just pounding on the roof of this shed right now. Absolutely smashing it down. Oh dear. Sorry, I have to adjust myself in my chair. There we go. Commonwealth nations have had this problem for a while now. Equity isn't equality. Yeah, and there is actually a... I don't know if anybody here knows about James Lindsay. James Lindsay was somebody who I followed for a decent amount of time. Unfortunately, he has kind of gone the same way as a lot of other figures, in that he's turned right round and started saying, oh, both sides, not both sides, but like the people that I used to side with are a danger too and need to be removed. So he has lost a lot of points in my eyes, but I do think that James Lindsay's lectures on the new discourses, which is a YouTube channel, are actually extremely good, because he lays out the principles of Marxist thinking, and he really helps you to understand how Marxist aligned individuals and progressives think, and how when they talk about things, even if they are using the exact same words as you, they are coming at the problem from an entirely different perspective. And so they can fool you into thinking that you agree on just about everything, when they are actually using a completely different language that uses the same words but having different meanings. he sold out. I mean, he was involved in something or other. Basically, I believe that he turned right round and said that we need to be very careful. Like, he spent years and years talking about leftist infiltration of institutions and all of this kind of stuff. He was very anti-Marxist, anti-woke and everything. And he got an awful lot of support from more traditionally right-wing groups. But from what I can tell, again, I have not watched him in a fair amount of time, but he turned around recently, and on Twitter he basically said, we need to now watch out for a dangerous right-wing extremist coup or something along those lines that is probably going to happen soon unless we are like very careful and start to use our powers for good, aka the powers of censorship. He did that thing where he's going from, oh, free speech is absolutely important in all ways, to kind of saying, well, you know, free speech is good and all, but there's a difference between free speech and hate speech, and, you know, we need to be aware of these kind of things. And a whole bunch of people immediately leapt on him and said, you are literally betraying the very principles that you have said to us for years and years. And he went on that stupid Twitter blocking thing where he blocked a whole load of people that used to hold him in fairly high regard, and it was pretty embarrassing. The aristocratic spoon had a video about him. You can tell the establishment has gotten to someone when they suddenly start babbling about Christian nationalism, dominism, etc. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a good point, Guildmate Troy. I think that's what he was saying. He was saying something like that. Sounds like he was coerced. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. And I regret it because... again, his new discourses lectures about Marxist thinking are genuinely fantastic, and I would hugely recommend them because they really give you an amazing intellectual insight into how the progressive mindset works and how you can be convinced and swayed without even realizing it. And it gives you... I think that things like that are critical to develop a proper theory of mind, because that is the enemy the government wants to fight. I mean, yeah, political talking heads are betraying their principles. Name a more iconic duo. Yeah, it is what keeps me away. There are many things that keep me away from politics, but that is one of the things that keeps me away from politics the most. External to any personal morality or anything like that, that I simply cannot trust people. For me to believe somebody, I have to trust them, and I've never met a political figure who I have total trust in. I have a decent amount of trust in Glenn Greenwald, but again, that's about it. That's literally about it. The only speech that isn't protected and shouldn't be protected is threats and speech intended to incite a panic in a public setting. That's it. Everything else is fine. I mean, I think that even his video on the Christian Nationalist Manifesto was good. It's a shame he decided to go beyond warning it was a honeypot and not genuinely Christian. Let me have a look at that Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the problem, is that I don't mind it if he highlights a potential issue, because I agree. I think that one of the dangerous things about current year is that a lot of people are saying that the right wing is gaining ground, and I think overall for society that's not a bad thing. But at the same time, it's the pendulum swing, is that when you see these people getting back into power, they very quickly start to betray their ideals. And they go all in for the deep state, big government, etc. and so on. And I'm old enough, like I'm in my 30s, and I remember what it was like. I was just old enough to start taking note of when the conservative right in America was very strong, and how censorship orientated it was, and how, especially because again, I'm a religious person, I am a Christian, I'm a religious person, and I think that religion should have influence on morality practically to the exclusion of all other things. But I remember the insane backlash against Christian conservatives when they came out against things like Pokemon or Dungeons and Dragons and so on, is that they took their moral position and they went and they said, we are the only ones that can determine what is moral and what is not, and if you don't think that we are correct, then you are a disgusting heathen who will burn in hell. And yeah, that was not something I agree with either. Pendulum will swing back hard. I agree. The pendulum swing in progress will be more extreme than 1930s Germany was. That would be fun. Oh dear. Even then, super by that metric, the pipe-bombing out mailbox jokes would get you jailed. I mean, yeah, I think the major problem with Super Duper's argument is that different people have different perspectives on what is and is not hate speech. And it's just like, even with my parents, is that my parents cannot understand because they're both in their, like, my father is in his 60s, my mother is in her mid 70s. And to both, my father is not so bad because he adopted the internet very early. And then he understands internet culture quite decently. But for my mother, who doesn't use the internet, the idea of saying to somebody, I will leave a pipe bomb in your mailbox, that is automatic. She would call the police. If somebody told her that in real life, or even sent her a text message on her phone, which she barely uses, she would immediately call the police because she has no context to understand that has no weight. And like, I say sometimes things to her that people say to me online, and she goes, you must have been horribly offended by that. Or that was terrible. Why do you allow people to say those kind of disgusting, dreadful things to you? And I say, you don't understand. That's just light banter. Nobody means it. And she just does not have the frame of mind to understand that context. And that's what you need to understand, is that context matters tremendously when it comes to speech, is that one group of people will find something to be horrifyingly offensive that another set of people will find completely benign. I'm not talking about shouting fire in a theater, not those sort of jokes people could get I'm talking about shouting fire in a theater, not those sort of jokes people could get trampled. Yeah, I agree. But the thing is also, Super Duper, you have to understand that it might be that the context, again, that matters, because if you shout fire in a crowded theater, the context of what you are saying is that you are saying something that, if it were true, would present an imminent and dramatic threat to human life. And so people, on average, would not assume you had any reason to say there's fire in a theater if there wasn't fire in a theater. And so the context of that is obvious and clear. There is no reason to say that unless you are being malicious. But that is what you might call universal context, whereas context can have many different forms. The right would definitely dismantle a lot of social welfare programs and criminalize a lot of behaviors just because they see them as wrong. Yeah, I agree. In the US, Dems were against Mortal Kombat before conservatives went against GTA. Maybe it's because I've been on and off the board since my early years, but threats on the internet are meaningless to me. Yeah, I agree. I think they are meaningless as well, for the most part. Right now, all the context they need is, does it hurt my feelings? Yep, that's basically how the world is at the moment, right? It's hard to determine exactly what falls under the rule. And you have to, that's the thing, you have to have people with a good sense of conventional morality to properly judge these things. Because without that, everybody is just making judgments based on how they feel at the time. And that leads to anarchy. It leads to chaos, and I hate chaos in all of its forms. I'm very much an Imperium player. I hate chaos. The Conservatives are the lesser of two evils. Nice Master and Commander reference there. There is an intent there, but I will move on from this because, again, I will just actually, this is something that I'm going to try and do from now on because it is very annoying when I see things on Kirscha's chat and I don't get to, because Kirscha reads a lot of stuff all the time and she won't, well, it's not that she won't, but it's hard sometimes to see what things she's referencing, so I am just going to paste this in chat right here. That is the link that I'm reading right now. If anybody wants to open that and read it for themselves, then go right ahead. And it's quite interesting because before we can move on, I saw this today. And this is Canada. Let me have a drink. Also, let me also, here it is. 1 second, sorry. I'm on my pills. Actually, no, it's just a piece of chewing gum. That I saw this the same day that I saw this. MSNBC legal analyst says First Amendment makes US vulnerable and calls for common sense speech restrictions. This isn't a very long article, so I will read all of it. MSNBC legal analyst Barbara McQuaid argued Monday that the United States' deep commitment to free speech makes Americans uniquely susceptible to disinformation campaigns. McQuaid, a University of Michigan law professor, went on The Rachel Maddow Show to promote her new book, Attack from Within: How Disinformation is Sabotaging America. She said her goal with the book was to spark a national conversation about truth and our commitment to it. She added, I hope that by dissecting it, explaining it, and educating the public, we can all see disinformation for what it is so that we can begin to push back against it. When asked by host Rachel Maddow whether America is just as susceptible to disinformation as other countries, McQuaid argued that it is even more vulnerable. Actually, Rachel, I think we're more susceptible to it than other countries, and that's because some of our greatest strengths can also be our Achilles heel, McQuaid said. So, for example, our deep commitment to free speech in our First Amendment. It is a cherished right. It's an important right in democracy, and nobody wants to get rid of it. But it makes us vulnerable to claims that anything we want to do related to speech is censorship. She argued, of course, the Supreme Court has held that all fundamental rights, even the right to free speech, can be limited as long as there is a compelling governmental interest, and the restriction is narrowly tailored to achieve that interest. But I think any time someone tries to do anything that might limit free speech, people claim censorship. Yes, because that is literally what censorship is. It is the limitation of free speech. Sorry, that kind of gets me very mad. McQuaid held up as an example this week's Supreme Court cases regarding state laws about how social media platforms moderate content. We need to have a conversation and common sense solutions to these things, she said. Instead, we throw out terms like censorship, call each other names, use labels, and retreat to our opposite sides. We need to be pragmatic and come up with real solutions. But it is, I think, one of the things that makes America particularly vulnerable to disinformation, she concluded. Maddow praised the book's arguments and touted McQuaid's work as a real public service and a pleasure. Let me just pop that link in chat as well. The Federalist Papers and Anti-Federalist Papers refute her claims. Why the people we censor complain and... Sorry, it's really annoying. Why the people we censor complain about censorship? I'm not entirely sure what you mean, Winscene. Your mocking voice sounds just like Jim Sterling and is uncanny. Shut up, Super Duper, I hate you. Danny D, the European mind cannot comprehend such freedoms. I mean, yeah. This is what really irritates me, is that about 5 or 6 years ago, actually more than that, like 8 years ago by now, I used to really dislike talking to Americans on the internet. I found Americans to be very difficult to get along with. I felt that they were very extreme in their attitudes, and I felt they were unreasonable, and they didn't really have any kind of common ground with me. And so I used to associate primarily with Europeans. But as I started to develop a bit more of a cognizance of how the world worked and how governments worked and how the economy worked and so on, I began looking for people to talk to about these kinds of things. And that is where my relationship with European minds absolutely hit a brick wall. Because I just could not get over how insanely complacent Europeans were to all of these issues. I could not bring up any kind of economic or political topic without this dull-eyed stare from, well, metaphorical dull-eyed stare, because it was mostly slow for text. 1 second, I can feel the belch coming on. There we go. I could not deal with them because I have never met people that are, now you associate with the Filipinos, at least those people are honest. I will forever be terrified. I am genuinely not being sarcastic here. I am terrified. I am terrified to my core by people like German liberals and German left-wingers, because talking politics with German friends who are normies is just impossible. You literally brought it up at the exact same time that I did, Luminous. It's terrifying to me. I am unironically terrified by the attitudes of those people, because the moment you start talking to them about things that seem to you to be common sense, they will start telling you that you're wrong and that you're insane. They will look at you and they will say something like, oh, we can't have free speech because then we would all go back to being Nazis. I have unironically had German people tell me that they require that their legacy for being the country that started World War II means that they now have an obligation to give up their freedoms so that they are no longer a threat to the rest of the world. I have had that argument given to me, unironically, with a straight face, by multiple German leftists, and again, I can't stand it. It actually drives me insane. Yeah, we are too cucked. Sounds like American leftists too. Servile mindset. I know. And I have no problem. Again, I am religious. I have no problem with the idea of submitting myself to a higher authority. I have no problem with that concept. But that higher authority has to have my best interests at heart. And then we literally can't pay our NATO dues even though Russia is at the borders, because then Trump would be right. They did not know dismantling free speech is what Nazis did. We are also literally becoming the left-wing equivalent of Nazi Germany in real time. I know, it's absurd. It is absolutely demented to me. I have stopped. I used to be very active in a bunch of Discords which discussed history and so on, and I just stopped. I stopped after a while because I realized that I was getting unironically physically ill after long conversations with European leftists, because I would get I was unironically mad on the internet. I would get so angry. I would get so angry when they said to me with completely straight faces, we don't deserve freedom. Freedom is not something that people should have. I agree with the idea of censorship because I don't think humans should have the right to determine their own course in life. It just made, I got so angry at people like that. And the kind of people who say, the kind of people who seem to be unironically would agree with the idea that they should give up their powers of decision-making to other people. Allowing the government to define what constitutes forms of speech is basically begging for it to abuse its power. Precisely. And Felior, the problem with free speech is that there's always that one person who think they can say absolutely anything without fear of repercussion. Yeah. It is a tightrope to walk. You need to have people who have good moral principles and are able to understand these ideas. Some of the most comedy politics was Germany trying to import BLM during the George Floyd stuff. We hardly even have black people here. Tyranny is peace, huh? All right, Megatron. Those same people are quick to say no one should own a firearm but the government. I know. Again, this is another thing. This is another thing that, I get from James Lindsay, is that he once said, I remember quite vividly, he was on a podcast once, and he said, roughly paraphrased, that the worst thing that can happen to me is when somebody makes an argument against my points that I know that I could make better myself. And the kind of point, the point that he was making is that these people do not even understand what the implications of their own arguments are. And I would have more respect for these kind of people if they would just be honest and say, yeah, you know what? I want tyranny. I want to go back to fascism. I want to go back to totalitarianism. I want to stop thinking for myself and be told what to do. But they can't do that. They can't think that. They can't say that. All they can do is repackage it in their own heads to the idea of, oh no, it's literally 1984, freedom is slavery, weakness is strength. And that is what makes me so insanely angry. I have more respect for people who are hardcore communists who say, yeah, we want to take away the power of the common man. We want to collectivize everything. We don't think you should have property rights or anything like that, because at the very least, they're being honest to you. I know where I stand. I recently talked to a Czech guy who wanted civilians to not be allowed to have weapons, explicitly because Nazi Germany came down so hard on people who resisted them. It is the government's job to keep our speech free. It's our job to find and uphold the truth that we through the use of that speech. That's a very good way of putting it, Bruiser CA. I agree with you. Super duper. Freedom is something you fight for. It's your God-given right. These heathens just want to deprive us of rights so they can pull us around like sheep. Again, that's a pretty accurate way to describe it. But anyway, yes, this person is completely insane, and I don't think that anyone should listen to her. And I'm going to move on to slightly brighter things. We are nearly at the Niji stuff, but there is a couple of things that I wanted to cover first, because one thing that I saw on Twitter today was extremely, well, it's not really entertaining. It's darkly entertaining. Have a sip of water before I go on. I don't know why I feel the need to announce to the chat every time I take a drink of water. I just have this kind of streamer brain that any moment of dead air is like 20 viewers lost instantly. The government can't give rights. Yeah, intellectual dishonesty is infuriating. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Jodie Plauche, I think. So this is February the 29th, a leap year, and it says, it was 10 leap years ago today that my karate teacher and kidnapper, Jeff Dosset, was arrested for aggravated kidnapping. It would only be 16 days away before my father, Gary Palucci, would shoot and kill him in front of a TV news camera. 40th anniversary. So yes, this person, who is now 40 years old, or more than 40 years old, actually. 40 years ago, as a child, they were kidnapped by this pedophile, and he was a child molester. He had a record of child molestation, and he was dragged into the courts and everything. And so, 16 days after he was, fortunately, I believe that this person was rescued without them being molested. Or actually, I don't think so, actually, because I looked up another source and it said that she was actually molested by this guy. But then 16 days later, her father, and if you scroll down, you can see actually a screenshot of this. I'm not playing the video, unfortunately, but that in the background with the guy with the glowing eyes, that's her father. Is that he, during the prisoner transfer, I believe, when this guy was being transferred to a new prison, he waited, I think, in the airport lounge for him to pass by, and then he just shot him straight in the head. He shot this child molester dead in the middle of the airport lounge, as I recall. Plowshay was close enough. Okay, 100 proc coin redeem glug. Also, Jodie is his son. Okay, son. I'm sorry. Wait, so that was... Oh, I see. His son. Oh, my. Yeah, so not only was he a pedophile, he was a homosexual pedophile. There's definitely no link between the two at all. Don't think like that. Oi, Proctor, when are we playing D&D? Maybe someday. We'll see. We'll see. Honestly, if people did want to play D&D or something like that, but the thing is, I'm a rather particular kind of person about it, so we'll see. Maybe if I get round to... Maybe if I magically find a whole bunch of people that are really interested in Super Robot Wars and they would like to mess around in a sci-fi fantasy setting, maybe. The only people that hate that father are telling on themselves, by the way. I agree. Now, again, I think that murder is bad. I think that vigilante justice is bad. At the same time... what this father did would, put it this way, would not be condemned under the Mosaic law in Israel. This man exercised his God-given right to seek to be the avenger of blood for his family. And I think that if I was a father and this kind of thing happened to my child, yeah, I'd do the same thing. This man is a hero, Medal of Honor. I can't disagree. I absolutely cannot disagree in any capacity. And I thought it was just quite interesting that I happened to scroll by that in my Twitter feed, as this is the 40th anniversary of that event. I'm being pinged in cafeteria, 1 second. Find a way to get this on stream. It is safe for stream. Okay. Unfortunately, Thrang, is there any way you can send that to me outside of Discord? Because the problem is... Actually, I think I can download it. That's what I can do. Absolute Mad Lads, Gary Palucci. Yes. If I play this... This is only a minute long, so I will see if I can play this. Please give me just a moment. Just chatting transition. It is 17 seconds. It's 1 minute 20. It's a minute 20. Add window capture. And of course, it doesn't actually show anything. That's of course. It is 17 seconds. WTF? Oh, it is. It's 20 seconds. I see. It's 20 seconds. I get it. For some reason, it said I thought it was something different. Let's see. Media source. Does this work? Local file. Browse. Does this work? And that doesn't work either. That's great. Nope, that's not going to work. I'm sorry, Thrang. I can't show it on screen, at least not easily. Check Discord and put it on Catbox. Ah, that works. That should work. Thank you very much. I apologize for the delay, everyone. Catbox MP4. And transition back. So much effort for a 17-second joke. Look, if you've never streamed before, you don't understand what it's like, okay? You have no idea. You have no idea of the existential terror that I experience whenever I interact with OBS filters, because literally just 2 or 3 accidental misclicks and I show my entire desktop or something else stupid. Like, OBS, windows, and filters on the fly are a nightmare, and I highly recommend that nobody ever interacts with them. But yes, here we go.
Oh no! What happened? Oh no! How terrible! That's just awful! How terrible! Oh no!
Yeah, that's the footage from him getting shot, from the wonderful child enjoyer getting shot dead by the father of the child that he kidnapped. Deserves an extra ravishing for this. I didn't expect Proctor to waste 3 minutes for it. Look, you're the... I am a puppet on your strings, Thrang. Don't you remember? You're the secret owner of this site, and you are also Pippa's trans sister. I don't forget that. Never forget that we, of all people, know the secret deep lore. We know the lore, Thrang. You can't hide among us. Shut up, Proctor. We already doxed you 3 times over. We know who you are, where you kive, and what color is your underwear. Okay, what color is my underwear? I dare you. Just but too quick. I mean, I'm not one for. I don't really buy into the attitudes of pedophiles should be tortured for all eternity or so on. I'm not like that. I mean, but I'm never gonna fault a father for killing a man who molested his son. Put it that way. Yes, I really appreciate the fact that OBS is akin to summoning demons in complexity and esoteric knowledge required. I didn't see as orange as your feathers, pink with frills, not the color. Joke's on you, because I'm not wearing any. Trick question you. God damn it, he got the joke before I was able to make it. I will say that father had excellent marksmanship and control in close quarters. Yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily agree with him opening fire in, I think, an airport lounge, but the motive and intent behind it, I completely agree with him. As everybody says, father of the century, happy anniversary, your father is a legend. I can say that video will go down as one of my favorite dads taking matters into his own hands videos ever. We need more men like him. He took me away from my home. It's now the America's Best Value Inn. I'm going to be in Austin for the 40th anniversary at the mothership to see Jim Norton. Here is Joe talking about my dad a few months ago. I will just link this as well if anybody else is interested in this tweet, so give me just one down a second. There we go. If anybody would like to go and pay their respects, and they are welcome to do so. Who is beeping me? Oh, that's an announcement. Oh, that's cute. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen. We shouldn't need more men like this. I agree with you. We shouldn't need more men like this. We really shouldn't. Again, I'm not a violent person. I hope never to be a violent person, but it is true that we live in interesting times. That is the worst curse that a Chinese person can ever give you. May you live in interesting times. And speaking of people who were just trying to live their own lives, there was also this. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms is doing its best. Let me just copy this because it's a tweet as well. They are doing their best to make sure that you understand who the real victims of the Waco massacre were. Because they put out this tweet. Today, we remember and honor the lives of service of ATF Special Agents Conway Lebeau, Todd McKeehan, Robert Williams, and Stephen Willis, who were killed 31 years ago while attempting to execute warrants at the Branch Davidian compound. And then I love the community notes. Community notes are rapidly becoming one of my favorite parts of all Twitter. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. It should also be noted that the ATF burned or shot all members of the compound save for 9. The outcome of this siege was most likely unnecessary, as Koresh was likely planning to surrender, according to FBI analysts, and every attempt at cooperation was shut down. Then, of course, we have good old Null here saying, I love seeing our government celebrate its crimes against its own people. And again, look at these numbers. Like, this guy has 65,000 likes. And this has 600. The ATF is getting absolutely ratioed. They have 664 likes. And then down here, bullet holes. Look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. 2.5k likes. 3.8k likes. And here it is. History Inc. You had multiple opportunities to serve a knock warrant. Vernon Howell even reached out multiple times to the ATF and invited them to check the firearms they had to make sure they were legal. The ATF refused, wanting to score a major PR win after the disastrous Ruby Ridge incident the previous year. By assaulting the Davidians in their home, you became criminals and they defended themselves with lethal force, as is their constitutional right. All who were tried in the murder of your jackbooted thugs were acquitted. The correct decision. I'm certain they leave comments open to collect our names and put them on a pissed off citizens list. And here, even classical liberal caucus, who I'm fairly certain is not going to have... Yeah, these are libertarians, okay? So they're not conservatives. And he says, no, today we remember the victims, not the murderers. And here he lists a whole bunch of names. And these are their photographs, by the way. These are the people that were killed. These are the children that were killed in the Branch Davidian compound. 2 years ago, the ATF started selling plushies of... You're joking. You are seriously joking. That is not a thing. Somebody else verify what Gigadramon 6 just said. I don't believe... There's no way. There is no way. There's no way. There is no way. At minimum, if they wanted Koresh, they could have waited until his cover band played at the bar during... Okay. It's either Wendigoon or Lore Lodge that have the best documentaries on it. It was completely unnecessary. I agree. I mean, I've watched several documentaries about the Waco siege as well. I do think that Koresh was... Can I link it in chat? I think you can. I think if you link it in chat, it will be okay because, I mean, just try and it'll probably pop up on an auto-moderator or something for me at least to see. So go ahead and try. That Koresh was a weirdo, but the feds are worse. Yeah, that's a very good summary of it, that I think that Koresh was definitely a weirdo, and he was probably not exactly... he was not exactly chaste, shall we say, but at the same time, if you are an American and you are not on a federal watch list at this point, you haven't done anything of note. They took pictures over dead people. I've seen those pictures. Check Discord, Proctor. Okay, I will check Discord. You're joking. You're joking. You're joking. This is a joke. Who can reply? Accounts ATF. Accounts mentioned can reply. I'm speechless. I Terry was right. The agency that has dog killing teams is selling dog plushies. Guys, there are times when I don't want to comment on things because I know that it would take... People are posting more things in cafeteria. ATF New York mocks gun owners with tweet depicting stuffed dog. And let me just post that in the chat too. Look at this. If the ATF shows up to your house and you're a dog owner, well, you were a dog owner. We all know the ATF is notorious for shooting dogs, even dogs that represent no real threat to the officers in question. Hell, there's absolutely no way the ATF isn't aware of that reputation either. They spend too much time sniffing around the gun culture to be unaware of their reputation. Which is why this tweet pissed me off so badly. That's right, you can buy a stuffed dog from the ATF. I'm sure that's consolation to the numerous Americans who have had their dogs shot by federal agents over the years. They can just get a stuffed dog to replace Fido. Of course, I have questions. For example, does the dog have a bullseye on it? See, I don't fault the ATF for having a store. I don't see why anyone would buy anything from there except to cosplay as an ATF agent, but whatever. How long is this article? It's not too long. What I have a problem with is them outright mocking the people whose pets they killed with this. It would be bad enough if the toy had been in the store all on its own, but no, they used it in their marketing materials. How else can anyone see this other than as mockery? The truth is that the ATF doesn't feel any need to maintain a respectful relationship with the community it polices. Especially now that Dave Chipman has been chosen to helm the agency. There are enough photos of him mugging it with the aftermath of Waco to suggest not only is he unlikely to curb this kind of behavior, but may well encourage it. They could have taken a cooperative approach with gun owners from the start, and maybe gotten more support in finding any bad apples that were around. Instead, it's an agency of arrogance that believes it's above the American people. Rather than recognize that they ultimately answer to the citizens of the United States, they opt to mock people who could have been a great asset to them. For the record, they also sell dog collars at the site. Just how long until they kill a dog wearing an ATF collar? Just how is that going to look? Of course, they don't care. They're not here for you or me. They only care for their overlords in Washington, that they're happy. And since those overlords are bureaucrats who aren't answerable to the American people, apparently, we're likely to see them find new and interesting ways to mock gun owners. As for now, I kind of wonder how many gun owners are going to get the ATF dogs to use as target practice. They shoot our dogs, we shoot theirs. It only seems fair. Just if you do, don't post it on social media. While I'd find it amusing, I'm sure the Zuckerbots and Twitterati would say it constitutes a threat to ATF agents. The feds posting their L's online, no comment. The ATF store is now open. Oh, I see. Quote retweets are funny. I mean, I promised that I get onto the Niji Sanji stuff, so I will slip onto that in a moment or two. But apparently Mutaha just uploaded a video about being out on the Niji sister hate list. Oh, that's amusing. Niji sisters working hard to outdo the Illyra video in reputational damage. Ah, dear. ATF Kayla Also for breaking your door, breaking your gun safe, rifling through your legal firearms, and then leaving a note and leaving your property unsecured. Reminded that after World War II, the United States was a high-trust society that trusted government. It didn't have to be like this. Yeah. They don't care. They know they're untouchable. It doesn't surprise me, honestly. This kind of stuff just really depresses me, honestly. I mean, again, I live in a country where gun ownership is practically banned. You definitely can't own a sidearm. You can own a legal hunting rifle, but that's about it. It depresses me. And let me just get rid of this text. It's depressing, all this kind of stuff. So let's actually get on to something fun. And that was the Waco stuff. I'll just close this because I've already finished it. So here we have the Niji Sanji blacklist. Not the blacklist, but the L list. The list of Niji Sanji Ls. On the bright side, going from talking about the ATF will make Niji Sanji's PR look pristine by comparison. Here is banned, but it doesn't stop you from getting an AK. Here, where do you mean? Doesn't stop you to get an AK. Okay. Sorry, guys. Just 1 second. Let's just zoom in a bit so this is all decently visible. Is that blocked or anything? Nope, that's up properly. The amount of disdain for the people they have hurt is just so disgusting. Like, just do your job and don't mock the people who are affected by it. Let's get on to something fun. Japanese corporate labor disputes. Yay! I agree, Luminous. Like, the attitude... They say that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I agree with that. This is why I do not trust earthly authority, why I do not trust human authority, because you see this happen time and time again, is that people will get into power for seemingly good reasons, and then they just become tyrants. And it's not even that they manipulate and control you, it's that they rub your nose in it. There's this desire to not just stamp on your face, but to get you to lick the boot and thank you and thank them for stamping on your face. That's what disgusts me more than anything else. But anyway, we are now on to the fun part of this stream. I apologize that it took so long and that we had so many tangents. TLDR is on the bottom. All known Niji Sanji controversies are also towards the end. I just want to warn people before I post it. I will post this link in chat as well. And just a warning that because this is a Google document, I mean, I'm using my public Google account, but because that's literally associated with my Proctor Zakharov identity, so I don't care. But you might have your Google account at least revealed if you go to this link. Use a private window if you're curious. There we go. I'll just pin this as well so you can see it. Message pinned. And I'm interested most of all in the financial issues, a severe lack of spending from Niji Sanji. And this is the buyback info. In December 2023, Niji bought back 2.5 billion yen worth of stock to artificially inflate their stock price. This comes out to around 18 million USD, which I find amusing, about the cost of HoloLive's 3D studio. Why buy stockbacks? Why do stock buybacks? And, sorry, let me just start that again. What do stock buybacks and such have to do with the company? The answer may surprise you. HoloLive is Niji's main competitor, and on top of investing in the company by building the biggest 3D mocap studio in Japan, they outspent Niji Sanji over 6-1 in terms of funding per talent, 86,000 USD to 14,000 USD. Keep in mind that Niji Sanji has almost twice the number of talents. See the problem already. And as he notes here, this is the highest estimate for Niji Sanji. And on the off chance that any Niji Sanji talents actually are willing to talk to me, I would love to know how much Niji Sanji has spent on them, please. I will keep your names completely anonymous and everything. Just tell me how much you had spent on you. That's all I want to know. Nothing else. I just want to know if these numbers are in any way accurate. I believe they are. Tabby's starting late. Oh yeah, go and look at cute mole VTuber as well, because she's really cute. I can't raid people on YouTube yet, but if I could raid, that would be the person that I'd raid into. HoloLive's end-of-year report stated approximately 6 billion yen for SG&A costs. On the flip side, Anycolor spent 2.2 billion yen for SG&A costs in the same fiscal year. And here we have this graph, net of sales, cost of sales, gross profit. There's HoloLive. According to HoloLive's own graphs, approximately a third of that 6 billion yen operating expense was used for personal expenses, salaries of staff and management. This places the approximate spending at 2 billion yen, about 15 million in 2023. About 50% of employees are directly related to management and such. And this is from HoloLive's own public statements. As you can see, that IP planning, content creation, infrastructure developments, that's 36%. They're planning and developing new VTubers, that's streaming application and software development. Agency management. So 21% of HoloLive's expenditures are on agency and talent management. Also, there's the metaverse nonsense there. So Hololive spends a very large chunk of cash on their talent management agency. And I mean, you have had that thing with like Yozora Mel or Yozora Mel. A dead chicken gets 3D before a Niji Sanji talent will. The memes are real. I agree. It's hilarious. That's absolutely absurd. Could reach out to Sayu since she already put out a lot of stuff on in her one girl story document. I mean, that's possible, but I mean, Sayu is obviously pretty emotionally upset by everything. I don't like pestering people that I know are emotionally compromised by a situation. Hololive wins by doing their job. FaZe Connect wins by doing nothing. Subtracting all of Niji's selling and general expenses from that 2.2 billion yen total comes out to 300 million yen for administrative expenses, for a grand total of 2.5 million USD spent on administrative expenses. So this is his math, basically. So 2.5 million divided between 180 talents is 14,000 USD. And that's assuming that every single talent gets equal access to that money, which they don't. Yet Cover still spent 7.5 million on their 87 talents, meaning 86,000 per talent. And keep in mind, this is if all the administrative expenses are just spent on management. Administrative expenses also has lawyer fees, insurance, rent, and supplies/utilities. Cover's data specifically mentions that their spending is on personal expenses for the number mentioned above, 15 million. In that case, that leaves us with just 7,000 USD per year per talent, so about a 7-to-1 ratio between talent and management if managers are paid average salaries. It's likely that not all personnel within Niji Sanji are management. Since Hololive has a dedicated team for Hollow Earth, it's likely that the percentage of management among staff is higher within Niji Sanji. Even so, with a generous estimate of 2/3 of the staff being management, the numbers still look daunting. Assuming the 14k per year per talent for Niji is true, and assuming that the talent managers get paid about average salary in Japan, we're looking at a talent to a manager ratio of 4-to-1, which is the highest estimate. If we take the lowest estimate, it comes out to 12-to-1. 12 talents to 1 manager in an entertainment company. $8 lawyers, though, lol. Proctor steals user Google Docs for content, no shame. I know, I'm just terrible. I like how Niji Sisters mocked Hololive fans in VT about Mel getting terminated by claiming Hololive fans didn't give a fuck about her and see it as a win for Niji, only for karma to strike hard when Celine situation happened. Kuro Sanji versus Hololive is comparable to a competition where one guy cuts corners everywhere they can, while the other guy does it properly from the start. I agree. One thing to point out from Gigadramon 6, from what I've heard, Cover's talents are categorized as employees, but Niji Sanji tries to categorize the livers as independent contractors. I was not aware of that. I was under the impression that Hololive did the same thing as Niji Sanji in that their talents are contractors and not employees. But if there is hard data to back that up, like if there's a link to anything, then I would be very interested in it. 12 talents for 1 manager is really believable. IRIC, Selene had ex-Solil's manager at one point. I can fully believe these numbers. This is all, again, this is all mostly speculation, but from everything we've seen, this looks accurate. I don't dispute any of this. I don't think this is any kind of stretch. Let me scroll down for a little bit. Spending issues, except when it comes to manipulating the company's value. Niji Sanji is sitting on a big old pile of cash, hashtag sink the yacht. Early 2023 had them at approximately 82 million. Hololive has similar numbers, and Any Color does have an edge in income and net profit especially, since they cut costs as much as they can. So why can't they hire management for the such? I mean, there has to be a reason why they're looking for part-time bilingual translators for the EN branch while offering only 8 USD an hour, right? Now, this is something that I do have a slight bit of personal clarification for, because, again, this is something that Poltfan, the guy who associates with Kirsche, who is a professional business translator in Japan, this is something he specifically commented on her stream, is that a lot of stuff has been made about this particular thing, but most of it is from a Western business perspective and not a Japanese business perspective. This is more normal than it seems, is that this, as far as I am aware from the Japanese business side of things, is actually not uncommon at all, and it has probably been overblown in the international assessment, because Japanese companies do not tend to hire people. When they hire people into companies, they are generally not hiring them on short term. If you are hired into a Japanese company, especially a large Japanese company, you are expected to give that company many, many years of your life. You're not signing on for like 3 or 4 years. You're signing on for 10, 15, 20 years. And so it is standard policy to hire people directly out of high school or directly out of Japanese equivalent of college, where you are given a very low salary to begin with, and then your salary steadily increases as you gain seniority in the company. Because remember, in Japanese business, seniority is absolutely everything. Somebody who has 5 times the qualifications of somebody who has less qualifications, but who has been in the company for longer, is automatically going to have less prestige and power than that less qualified person who has seniority within the company. So I am actually going to politely take this with a grain of salt, because, again, it relies very much on the Western perspective as opposed to the Japanese perspective. Being more serious, the Niji EN situation just feels like bad management and not knowing how to run an international business. I agree. According to one of the talents, Yagu will occasionally break down crying from stress because he's never led so many people before and he knows they depend on him. Yeah, I mean, I really like Yagu's public presentation. Again, I don't know what he's like in the back room, so to speak, but he genuinely seems like a nice guy. And all the talents seem to have a positive attitude towards him. And I understand that part of that is contractual. Like, yes, I understand there are certain things you need to do in order to be considered a serious person in Japan, but those are not the same as in North American corporate culture. Labor laws in both Japan and US would define the talents as they exist in VTuber agencies as employees, because the company gives them what they need to do the job and has a lot of control over them. Yeah, I agree. And a $2 billion corporation should be on top of that. Legal Mindset did a video. I watched that video. I know what you mean. I know what you're talking about there. And I overall agree with that. But again, there is a difference between law and justice, as certain people that I know in my real life would say about that. And the trouble is, again, one of the major problems in this industry is that an awful lot of the people with stuff to lose are young, emotionally vulnerable women. And the tragic thing is, it's an emperor's new clothes kind of thing, that if the emperor can threaten to cut off your head if you say that he has no clothes, are you going to say that he has no clothes, even if the fact that he has no clothes is objective? And we've seen that with Selen, we've seen that with Sayu, and so on, is that they were too scared or too emotionally vulnerable, or simply did not want the stress of going through a court and establishing their legal rights in front of an international business like Niji Sanji. And it's tragic, it's unfortunate, but it's also a sad reality that when you are asking these people to stand up for their rights, you are also asking them to engage in an extremely emotionally charged thing that they are not very mentally suited to doing. You're asking them to do a lot of things that they genuinely would find incredibly stressful and upsetting to do. And I can understand that. I can respect that. And it's a tragedy, but I don't think that you should ask an emotionally vulnerable young woman to engage in this great big international shenanigans. That's why I am so strongly in favor of VTubers only becoming VTubers when they are fully aware of all of the risks and the problems that can happen in the VTuber industry, because when they get in deep, they become emotionally involved. and they suffer a great deal for it, and they are unable to take advantage of their legal rights and abilities simply because they are too emotionally compromised to do so. It's like asking, this is an extreme example, it is one of the reasons why women who have been sexually molested often do not take their molesters to court, because they have been so heavily traumatized by the act of molestation that they are unable to face the idea of enduring that suffering in a court situation. Because remember, the courts work both ways. The courts have the innocent until proven guilty attitude, no matter what angle you come at this. So you're going to have to engage with a defense lawyer. You're going to have adversarial conversations with a defense lawyer where they ask you hard questions that are often specifically designed to be to make you miserable and make you upset, so that you decide that this is no longer worth it and you decide to settle out of court rather than have to walk back into that room and be subjected to this, honestly, what is borderline emotional abuse. Yeah, can't avoid taking the stand. Precisely, Luminous, exactly. Sayu outright said that her lawyer told her she would 100% win on the merits, but she can't win the case because Niji Sanji would just drag things out until she ran out of money. Yeah, that is another tactic that rich companies will engage in, is that they will drag things out, and that there's nobody who's better at obstructive bureaucracy than the Japanese. I read about Johnny and Associates recently, arguably the first Japanese idol company. The ability to abuse the talents was there from the start. That's quite interesting, Guildmage Troy. Maybe I will look into the Johnny and Associates. Actually, I will note that down. Give me just 1 second. I will write that down in my personal channel. Remind me, 2 hours, Johnny and Associates. There, I will look that up after stream, because that would actually be a pretty good stream idea, looking into the core of the idol community. The process is the punishment. Yep, that is a great summary of how it is. The process is the punishment. Even if you have all of the legal rights on your side, then more powerful people are able to engage in a level of torturous interference that just makes you so sick and miserable and upset that you just stop caring about it. You just want to get on with your life. And as a man, as a male, being exposed to that kind of thing just makes me more entrenched. Being told, basically, yeah, we're going to drag things out until you get angry and go away, that would just make me so, okay, I'm going to be more stubborn than you are. Whereas to a woman, I can't deal with this, I have a life to lead, my clock is ticking and all of that. It's going to be emotionally draining, I'm going to be angry, upset all the time. They're going to harass me, they're going to come after me. I just want to forget that all of this has happened and move on with my life, which is an understandable reaction. But again, I do think there should come a time when VTubers who are knowledgeable about the industry just kind of come together and say, we're done with enduring this abuse and we will not allow companies to get away with this anymore. And I don't know what form that would take. I don't know how practical that would be. It is just what my personal sense of justice encourages me to lean towards. Because it upsets me every time I see this happen. It really does. But anyway, let's continue with this. I'm not going to cover that. What I like is this overseas branches and controversies, because a lot of this was not even known to me, because I was vaguely aware of some of this stuff, but not all of this. Here's some information about the other branches. This is the 4th branch they've blown up over the last 2 years. Niji Sanji India was a mess from the beginning. They had no proper support, and the company tried to rebrand them as English right before Hololive debuted Myth. They immediately terminated the entire branch after that fumble. Niji Sanji Indonesia was shot down because the parent company decided to pull out of any and all support for no discernible reason, as Niji ID was doing fine and Holo ID is even thriving. Niji ID had good management. Arguably, it was one of the best managed branches, including JP. The staff didn't shy away from appearing on stream, and they even created a dakimakura out of the chief staff member. Niji Sanji fired management to cut costs. The entire branch was folded into JP, but most have either left or were terminated. And then there's Niji Sanji Korea, which was why Illyra's clique theory caught on in the first place, since KR was run by a female VTuber with an actual clique that doxed the other talents. Her name was Ara, and she was a bully who slandered the entire branch, pretty much everyone in Niji Korea. Ara was suspended towards the end of KR as a result of a lot of her controversies, and she was sued by Yuya, another KR member. I vaguely know that this happened, but none of the details. That would be interesting to look into, maybe on another stream too. Good management would have suspended Ara while trying to confirm facts and firing her once confirmed. Instead, KR management protected her and went after the forums that were exposing this info. The timing is incredibly on point. Yami tweeted out a message of exasperation when this happened, and much of KR took a lengthy break in January of 2022, likely in protest. It's not a coincidence that these two graduation announcements happened at the same time. This is not including one of the first people they hired in Korea who had an extensive background in being a bully. Said Liver bullied people viciously enough that it caused one of her high school classmates to end up in hospital. It wasn't just bullying, it was straight up World War II Japanese-style torture, according to reports. Good grief, are you joking? Let's have a look at this. Her former identity is confirmed to be a school bully widely known as on the Korean internet, and her current identity is still alleged to bully other Niji Sanji KR VTubers. Some info that I have gathered, read at your own discretion. This is a lot of info. Okay, but I'm fascinated by this. This all began when Alice, Mana, and Enna decided that they would take a break a month ago to reconsider their VTuber career after their current agency, 541 E&C, merged with Niji Sanji KR. This was very surprising to their fans, as Mana is especially noted to claim in streams before that she would continue VTuber activities no matter what, and she loved her fans. Well, that aged like milk, as she decided to retire a few days ago, and their fans were undoubtedly bewildered, and thus began our tale. Now, Mana and Enna used to be part of the project Parai, and albeit not so much on YouTube, they were hugely successful in Bilibili a year back. Mana must have befriended with Morin around or before this time, and Morin quickly gained her trust. On June 9 last year, Mana, along with Enna, announced they would join 541 E&C, a more official, so to speak, management than Project Parai, which is more or less a one-man project by Parai himself. During this transition, Mana revealed her new costume drawn by Morin. Now, albeit at that time Mana said this was by her own will, but some thinks that Morin manipulated her to change the costume to fit in with the rest of 541. Even with a decline in popularity, Mana was still in the top of 541 E&C, which should tell you a lot about the popularity of the other members and how 541 is doing as a whole financially. When Niji Sanji expanded to the KR market, 541 was quick to disband and merge with them. This is where we are back to the start when Mana and the others announced they would like to take a break. You can see where this is headed. Fans speculate that Morin likely had rights to the L2Ds she had drawn of Mana and Enna, and that Morin took them with her in the transition to Niji Sanji, and in the process put Mana and the others in a rather difficult position. Angered fans were quick to investigate and found out a lot about Morin. For one thing, from identical social media pictures of her cats, they confirmed she is indeed Sin * Sky, a singer and one of the two main people involved in the school bullying scandal in Korea 5 years back. The extent, if internet rumors were true, they forced other students to be in a physical position that was reminiscent of World War II Japanese torture methods, was so bad that one of the bullied students had to undergo extensive surgery. From there, they dug up a lot of other stuff about her, and today she announced her leave. Damn. Let me look back at the chat. Johnny and Associates actually lost the defamation case against a newspaper in Japan. The courts found that claims of underage drinking and smoking were defamation, claims of sexual abuse were not. Damn. Disgusting ultra-rich people. It's worth mentioning that Niji KR's management at the time was just holdovers from the company they bought out. The merger was likely in response to that. Typical Koreans can't even bully without copying the Japanese. Pretty sure I read some rat about Kotoka being part of a group that bullied someone to off themselves and effed LA's ex-boyfriend. Or Laplace. KR is very serious about bullying. Underaged bullies are protected heavily by law, and thus society takes it into their own hands to punish them by socially ostracizing them. KR bullying is also very intense, like actual bodily harm and death levels of intense. Azihara, after Mel graduated from Hololive, her PL unfollowed Kotoka's PL. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that any of this had happened. This is quite fascinating to me. I really need to look in a bit deeper to all of this, because this really interests me. The idea that Niji Sanji was completely okay with somebody who had physical violence against them, that was physically violent towards other people. Yeah, that is not a good look. Not a good look at all. But let's go back to this. The Illyra clique theory is a conspiracy theory that claims, and that's his explanation of the as expected, the KR branch folded quickly after that scandal. The female YouTuber Ara involved got away scot-free for reasons we can only speculate. If anything, Niji Sanji buried her background as deeply as possible. Now here is something quite interesting as well with Enna's stream. It has been something that has been curious to me. A lot of people, with the whole... Sorry, 1 second. The whole the financial impact is negligible jokes. Let's have another piece of gum. That this is hard evidence that the financial impact has not been negligible. Let's look at Enna's recent concert and birthday live. Compared to last year, views and earnings are down by more than half, with most of the donors and viewers being from Hong Kong. So in 2013, the CCV was 13,218, and the Zatsudan CCV was 5,373. Today, well, the last time this happened, the CCV was 7,976, Zatsudan was 3,759. This is all public info. 44% of viewers and donations last year were from the US, while only 14% were from HK/China and Japan. Yet this year, it's the reverse. 24% from US, 55% from Japan and China/HK. Enna is a great singer, I agree, and it has an amazing voice. She's one of the biggest talents left in EN. Yet her numbers are down massively. Just this year, Niji Sanji EN had 3 talents leave the company. Niji Sanji CO even stated that even if the talents leave, their fans would be redistributed among the other talents. Yet Pomu and Selene were the biggest female talents in EN, while Kyo had a sizable following as well. So why are the numbers down, with almost evaporated support from EN nations like the US? My own fan theory is... Remember the rats from the Zioning of Kotoka being a two-faced snake? There was another situation with a school bully being a VTuber promoting some online game that got found out. The public also cancelled her harshly. Oh, dear. But I mean, I'm not sure if this is just so obvious it doesn't even need to be said, but the main reason for all of the English views being down and the Chinese/Hong Kong views being up is because the Niji sisters are all Chinese, or they're from Hong Kong, and they're the kind of people who support the deplatforming and termination of Selene, because that was competition for the livers they actually liked. You can see here, I think it might have been a Blue Archive collab, you can see here how fractured the Niji Sanji viewer base actually is. That you have a number of talents who have a major Chinese and Hong Kong audience. And as far as I have seen, the Chinese and Hong Kong audiences are very, very separate from the English audiences. And all of the people that took the termination of Selene negatively tended to be either Japanese or English. from the US. Because Japan doesn't understand Western loyalty is to the talent, not to the corpo. I agree, that could also be a major problem. I've seen cases of Japanese people basically going, sorry, basically being like, oh, why would they care? It's the corporation, not the VTuber. It's obvious that the VTuber is in the wrong, the corporation has the power, etc. Generalization. And this is just tragic. Why are Niji Sanji livers, many of them talented in their own right, unable to hit 4-digit CCVs, except for the select few? Yeah, you can see, like, these are mid-tier indie CCVs, except for the top ones. This is Rosemi. Nice to see Rosemi is still getting decent views. This is 240228. So Rosemi streamed recently. So Rosemi has definitely still got a lot of CCV. Whereas these are Vexalius Bandage, good grief, Aya Amer, Victoria Bright Shield, Kunai Nakasato. These are all... Is Vermilion one of the latest ones? I don't know. But yeah, these two, Victoria and Kunai, I believe are both part of the same wave, and they've been done very dirty, sadly. And even worse, abysmal donations from the public, to the point where two members of their newest generation earned a grand combined total of 8,000 USD in 4 months. In comparison, the lowest super chatted member of HoloLive's EN recent generation Advent is Bibu with 100,000 in 7 months. Damn, bro. Damn. 100,000 in 7 months, and that's the lowest super chatter. That is an embarrassing showing from Niji Sanji. They didn't even do the bare minimum to promote their latest EN generation. Hardly any promotions on social media or even any trailers / songs / promotions on other Niji channels. I agree. The latest Niji Sanji EN wave, good grief, I barely even know they exist. Bright Shield and Kunai are getting outperformed by at least one member of the latest generation of FaZe Connect. I agree, that's tragic. That is awful, because, again, I feel so sorry for these people that have gotten into... who have gotten into these corporations and are very obviously being taken advantage of. I hope their new wave has an actual job other than streaming. Azuhara, do you know if there's a new Niji wave coming out? Like a new Niji EN wave? Has that actually been confirmed, or is it just speculation on your part? And Niji sisters say that Niji Sanji is better than HoloLive. I agree. This is just a joke. A complete and total joke at this point. It's just nonsense. I can't understand what kind of loyalty you would have to these companies. Give me just 1 second, please. My throat is starting to fizzle out a little bit. They literally dropped the debuts like 2 days after the announcement with zero fanfare. Bad models, bad names, no promotion, terrible fan base, this drama. Yeah. I feel very sorry for Victoria Bright Shield in particular, because literally, as Guildmage Troy just said, Victoria got in right when her Oshis leave and is stuck on the yacht. Literal tragedy. I agree. If you ask me, they have not unleashed a new wave so far this year. They don't even have a proper gen name too. Yeah, I agree. And Victoria Brightshield is particularly an unfortunate case because she's stuck with the stiff Niji Sanji rigging problem. But the thing is, her past life had an amazing model. She had some kind of Galaxy or Star Child themed model, and it had really, really detailed motion to it. It had like these stars in her hair that moved independently of the rest of her body, so it was like there were holes into the cosmos in her outfit that moved and showed different star patterns in a different way to the way that her own body moved, and it was really, really attractive. Like, she had a visually stunning design. Reminds me of the influencer farms in China. Shame. I have heard more about TTT from False ID than from Niji Sanji themselves. Some of my favorite are part of a revolving door corpo, so my loyalty is with the talent. Yeah, I agree. It was always B. Wait, that was her? I'm pretty certain it was. Mogu Ghost is her PL, Azihara. She probably signed off the rights to use that model if she ever graduated. That was Kunai, not Victoria. Kunai used to be Sunny Explosion, I think was her name. Okay, sorry, it wasn't. I apologize. It was not Victoria. But yeah, I did know that it was some person like that. At least Naomi is living her best life. I hope so. That was Kunai. Yeah, so to clarify, it was Kunai, not Victoria. Victoria Bright Shield was somebody else. But yeah, it was Kunai who had the Sunny Explosion model, which was really, really good. Give me just 1 second, please. Who pinged me? Oh, I see. Hololive released Advent in the best way possible. All their debut streams peaked at over 100k concurrent watching for the entire stream. Those are amazing numbers. Promoted everywhere, even in JP. Yeah, Hololive, in terms of marketing, is the absolute clear winner opposed to Niji Sanji. How was Niji unable to match this at all, to the point even one of their top female EN streamers didn't know about the new gen? Let's have a look at this. Does this actually lead to... is it a clip?
Me, Slim. Oh yeah, apparently. Okay, I just found out that I've been so out of it. I just found out we have a new wave that's debuting. Like literally, like when I woke up, like whoa. Guys, you have no idea. I was so busy. I was like, whoa, I'm practically dead. I'm so old now. Yeah.
I'm not going to play all that clip, but yeah, if your own talents do not even know that you have a new wave debuting. Naomi gets to be around cute Japanese idols and hang out with Matara. Yeah, it's really nice that Pomu is in a better place now. I'm sure she is enjoying being a human statue on Riku's yacht. Yeah, but I like this guy's writing style as well. He's not like openly antiing Niji Sanji, but like his jabs at them are hilarious. And of course, we have the afterword. If there had been effective management of any sort of quality control from the parent company in Japan, all of these controversies wouldn't have happened. Yeah, the company seems to be very short-sighted, focusing on immediate profits while sacrificing long-term stability and growth. Yep, that's a very good summary. And this is what I really wanted to get onto: the controversies, the scandals. And he's a good guy. He said that this guy has posted on our forum, by the way. One of the main reasons I noticed this was that this person has an account on TVA and is... Sorry, 1 second. Oh, blimey, that was a big belch. Victoria's case is tragic in its own way. She had the modern Blizzard employee experience. Work your ass off to get in and work with your heroes, only for them to be gone and the place is an S-hole. I agree. I feel very, very sorry for Victoria in particular. I really genuinely do. I think that her best option at this point is to graduate as soon as the contract ends and go back to being an indie and just take her audience with her. Hello, guys from the Spicy Forum. Hello, your Google. But as I was saying, this person who has written this document is /here/ and is actively posting in the Niji Sanji L threads, and a lot of people have been helping them out and sourcing them and everything, which I greatly appreciate. That is exactly what I wanted this forum to be about. I wanted people to be able to supply them with factual and useful information, or at least informed speculation. A lot of people have pointed out that some parts of the document are a bit rat-heavy, speculation-heavy, and that at least one, I'm not sure if he's removed it yet, But there was some stuff about Enna Alouette, which looks plausible on the surface until you read into it and realize that she has an incredibly dedicated auntie who is dedicated to clipping the worst moments of her out of context and everything. I believe the guy Oh, I see. Niji Sanji probably did not inform the current generations because before Crisis Gen, there was one Anon who leaked their entire models. They are originally supposed to be 4 members, but ended up having 3 instead. I believe the guy who leaked it on VT ended up getting terminated before debuting for Niji Sanji. Oh, I see. Interesting. Yes, I do vaguely remember that too, so that's... so that is interesting. The Shindo Raito rape scandal. Shindo Raito was hired by Niji Sanji back in 2019 and still holds the record for the fastest termination of any Niji lifer. His background is extremely controversial and criminal. Basically, he had a sketchy past in which he claimed that he drugged underage girls and raped them. On top of this, he admitted in his PL accounts that he signed up / joined Niji Sanji to drug and rape female livers and do a lot of off-collab events with them to achieve his goals. Niji caught on within a few days, but he allegedly doxed some of the livers and leaked confidential info before being terminated. By the way, all this information was on his public accounts, such as Twitter, before he joined. Why the hell did Niji Sanji not check his background? And they seemingly committed the same mistake later on with KR, Ara, and Mayorin. Yeah, but I've heard about this too, and that was pretty amazing. That was pretty amazing. Background check Doko. Yeah, this is why I want to apply for Niji Sanji, because I'm convinced at this point they would not even bother to check the contents of my channel. Guy thought he was the protagonist of Dojinshin. VT Anon called that Anon Enna Schizo. The Enna stuff was a re-entry inside the massive list of re-entry. A VT rape poster actually got in. Niji truly is the land of opportunities. Niji Sanji is totally incompetent. Isn't this well established at this point? Yeah, but I think this is a great primer. Again, I might actually pin this on my forum somewhere and just say, interested in joining Niji Sanji? Think again. Gundo Mirai's joke and termination. Gundo Mirai was not an unproblematic talent. She had been warned numerous times before by management due to her saying insensitive and inappropriate things. Yet, despite this, she was one of the earlier livers and had been in the company for several years by that point. So, if she was problematic, why was she still there? Yet, the official reason for her termination was making a joke about baseball. The joke in question. Mirai commentated on her ignorance of baseball rules while reacting to the World Baseball Classic. Among other jokes about how she did not know what a strike or home run are, she tweeted, "If a strong person is standing there, can the person who pitches the ball chuck it at their head or body and make them leave the pitch that way?" Now, to be fair, it is fair that there were legitimate concerns about her comment, which spiked viral outrage in Japan, could lead to an end of Niji's collaboration with Koshayan, their big yearly event, along with perms to stream Power Pros in conjunction with it. What is not okay is the company deciding to throw the liver under their bus and even joining in on the hate against her. Basically, the company outed all their grievances with her to the public to soothe the public anger. The agency added that it had reprimanded the VTuber for inappropriate statements on numerous occasions in the past, and that she posted the tweet without heeding the warnings. The company is currently scrutinizing Gundo Mirai's publicly available content and vowed to ensure that its talents do not step out of bounds in the future. If you look at all these terminations, they all have a common theme. Niji Sanji throws their livers under the bus when they terminate them. Why? Well, easier to tell their shareholders that the talents are the problem rather than management or the such. Terminating them with a grocery list of sins looks better when justifying it to the shareholders. And this is, again, a very Japanese thing to do. The baseball yakuza is real. Oh, here comes the JP baseballism. Japan is very autistic about baseball. Gundo totally got banishment roomed. She graduated, but it was pretty clear she was suspended until she chose to leave. So the whole keep a rap sheet on rap sheet on everyone is not just an English thing. No, because again, this is a Japanese company, and if a Japanese company fires you, it's your fault. And as to add a bit of extra context to this, after I have a drink of water. As far as I'm aware, in Japan, it is actually very difficult to terminate an employment contract. Again, because it is seen as culturally normal for people to have very long-term contacts or contracts with companies. Being fired from a company is a major black mark on your permanent record. If you've been fired from a company, then you are probably not going to get work in Japan again in a big corporation. And Japanese labor laws, as far as I'm aware, make it so it is quite difficult to fire employees because they know the fact that if an employee is fired from a big company, they're probably unemployable for life. So instead of firing people, if a Japanese company wants you gone, what they do is they intentionally start making your life as hard as possible to try and force you into terminating your contract on the company's terms so that they are not liable under Japanese law. So they will do things like demand that you... Yeah, IRC, Japan only allows firing someone for cause and only legally acceptable causes. Exactly. So the company will put you in the corner, so to speak, and they will start being as obstructive and as annoying to you as possible so that you choose to quit on your own terms as opposed to them having to legally fire you. So as they say, Gundo Mirai was apparently suspended for quite a long time before she chose to graduate, which would make sense if the Japanese company was just like, you know what, we can't legally fire this person for anything, but that doesn't explain Selene, though, as she was trying to leave peacefully. I mean, I don't know about Selene. But again, Selene was not a Japanese employee. They couldn't do that to her, necessarily. Whereas Gundo Mirai was somebody who lived and worked in Japan as a Japanese citizen. Oi Daishibeya, something like that. Yeah, I know that. I have heard of that term before. Give me just 1 second to actually look it up properly. Ah, yes, Japanese purgatory. Can I get this? That's quite long, but I will go to this as well. Here's a Gundo controversies best of. Okay. I might watch that after stream. Here we go. Oidashibaya, Japanese purgatory. Let me just scroll in a bit, zoom in a bit. There we go. In the United States, the concept of at-will employment means that employees can quit their jobs whenever they like, and that companies can fire employees whenever they like. In a sense, it's the opposite of Japan's lifetime employment custom. As any American employee who has experienced being fired can attest, it's certainly not pleasant and can lead to depression and many other problems. And indeed, in the US, there are many people who have lost their jobs and cannot find new ones, and become the long-term unemployed. But the ability to hire and fire as needed is one of the underpinnings of the US economy's flexibility, and is something that companies count on in order to remain competitive. Of course, when it comes to firing, even in the United States, it's not always wise for a company to fire people simply whenever it wants. To avoid legal problems, it behooves a company to document the economic need for layoffs or the problems with the performance of an individual employee being let go. But still, letting people go is something relatively straightforward for American firms, and the culture in general supports it. In contrast, Japanese companies are barred both by societal and legal constraints that make it very difficult to fire employees. Historically, that has led to the phenomenon of Madogi Wazoku, literally the tribe that sits by the windows. Employees whose services were no longer needed but that the company could not or did not want to fire would be given a pleasant spot by the window to while away the working hours by reading a newspaper. However, as the Japanese economy has had to deal with years upon years of recession and the increasingly stiff winds of global competition, many Japanese companies are finding themselves with more redundant staff than can fit at the window seats. This is particularly true for many companies in Japan's electronics industry, which is having a lot of difficulty these days and feels the need to shed many employees who were hired during the boom years. In response, many Japanese firms have adopted early retirement programs, which are a staple in the US as well as for quickly trimming the employee ranks. However, not everyone who is offered early retirement chooses to take it. So in recent years, many Japanese companies have been turning to another method, the oidashibaya, literally the banishment room or the expulsion room. The oidashibaya is, in a sense, madogaisi. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that second word, on steroids. Employees are typically placed in a room, often windowless, when they have nothing to do. In many cases, their business cards are taken away and they are forced to do menial, mind-numbing tasks or given nothing to do at all. Being excluded from the mainstream is particularly painful for those who have dedicated themselves to the company for many years, especially in the context of Japanese culture where ostracism from the group is a traditional and strong form of punishment. The idea of the oidashibaya is that stripped of their status, ties with colleagues, and interesting work, the employees who are placed there will eventually quit out of shame and sheer boredom. Indeed, many do, and since such a resignation is voluntary, the company is not subject to the usual legal responsibilities that it would have in the case of a layoff. In the United States, making someone's job so unpleasant or humiliating that they feel they have no choice but to quit is termed constructive dismissal and is illegal. And in Japan as well, these practices have been successfully challenged in court. But even so, a broad swathe of Japanese companies continue to use oidashibaya. The Abe administration is currently trying to advance proposals that would make it easier for companies to fire unneeded workers, which would make the oidashibaya unnecessary. But until that happens, there will be many Japanese toiling away in make-work jobs that are designed to force them out of the company. So that's quite an interesting bit of historical perspective on this, which I will just post in chat as well. Give me 1 second. Here we are. Selene was trying to leave immediately on the heels of Pomu leaving. I'd imagine they didn't want her to leave so soon after that. Yeah, we know that too, because several Niji Sanji people have come out and said directly that Niji Sanji likes to stagger graduation so it doesn't look bad. We saw that with Niji Sanji Indonesia too, in that we saw like a month between each graduation. One does have to wonder how hard it could possibly be to just let people go with it as a recommendation or anything that can curb the stigma that comes with it from being dismissed, choosing to leave a job just spite. Is that it? I mean, I don't know personally. I don't know enough about the Japanese culture to be accurate. Wind scene. There is a JP Belgium movie about this JP workplace culture, Fear and Trembling. I will look that up. I'm not going to look it up right now, but I will put it again into my personal Discord because that's quite interesting. Fear and Trembling. There, I've got it saved. Thank you for that recommendation. That's interesting. But yeah, you can quite clearly see the connections between this oidashibaya situation and Niji Sanji, especially Niji Sanji English. Look at Zion and Selene's termination letters. Look at Yugo's as well. They're all worded very similarly with pages of supposed crimes, with a valid one or two in between all of them. Mirai and another former liver, Maiji, also mentioned how working in Niji Sanji was like a prison after their graduation or termination. Interesting. What does this show?
一番多かった質問言っていいですか？なんで笑ってんだよ！顔が面白くて。ニヤ
けんね。
ねむちゃん
I'm just going to let this run for a second or two. I'm going to run this because it's just long enough for me to take a bathroom break, so I'll be a second. I'll let this run.
と先生の出会いは何ですか？初配信前から仲が良さそうでしたが、そこが疑問でした。ぜひ答えていただきたい。
仲いいからね、旅行とかもね、一緒に行った仲だしね。
そう、熱海とか行ったもんね、一緒にね。
そうそう、熱海とかディズニーとか行ったしね。
そうだね。
なんでだろうね。あれだよね、
なんだっけな。なんか私たちが韓国に行った時の話だっけ。
そう、韓国悪いことをして犯罪を犯したんですよ、俺たちは。
そうなの？
そう、閉じ込められてて、その時に出会って意気投合して、
そう、独房が同じで、そうそう、
独房
ネムって天使なんじゃないの？
いや、天使だよ。
あ、天使なのにさ、独房に入ってたの？
脱獄して
したの？プリズンブレイクしたんだよね。そう、覚えてるわ。
プリズンブレイクして
ね、同じね、模範囚として頑張ってたんだよね。
そう。あ、でもちなみに先生は、結構つまみ食いしたりとか。
そうね、結構怒られが発生してたかなっていう。で、一緒にスプーンでね、独房のこう掘ってって脱獄したんだよね。脱獄してよかったね。
よかったね。世界は明るいよ。
ちょっと待って、お水飲むから。
Well, that was perfect timing. It literally ended just as I got back in my seat. You don't want to be known as a company who fires people since the workers are expected to give so much for the company. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, we've seen this. It really is tragic as well that so many people who have left Niji Sanji just have nothing good to say about it. Streamer steals content while taking a dump, literally femboy Hassan Piker. It took 600 days. Excuse me, I have not drunk that much water. Okay, let's get back to things. You can also see my recommended videos there. Why is my own... I never understand this. Why on earth is YouTube recommending me my own video while I am currently live? That's an interesting choice by the algorithm. You'd think that would be something that would be fairly simple to deal with. This is another thing that I didn't know about before. Mito's revolt against Niji Sanji. This is a pretty significant one, as Tsukino Mito was the first Niji liver. The fact that she took a stand against management and the company in 2018/2019 should be telling. Due to incompetent management that had lowered the livers' morale significantly, many talents, including Mito, openly rebelled and demanded better conditions. It started off as a joke, but rolled into an actual union-like group that clamoured for improvements to management and standards within the company as a whole. Some of the worst complaints from the list. The company making livers foot the bill for their own model without telling them beforehand. Lack of management and support, Niji Sanji pitting livers against each other. Creating a hostile workplace, really bad quality toilet paper. Unfortunately, their efforts were in vain, as we see today. Niji Sanji didn't change, they just covered everything up better. All of these problems still exist within Niji Sanji to this day, except the toilet paper one. I really hope they at least fixed that. British people don't exist. What fantasy land is that video set in, and how do I get there? You're stuck in my reality, boy. You had the Roa Miro controversy. TLDR, Miro, who was hired after Roa, began to copy a bit of Roa's mannerism. I remember this. I remember this. Miro tried to graduate twice, pulled back each time at the last moment to create a public narrative that she was being bullied. Management let her get away with it the first time, but she was fired after the second time after they discovered the NDA breach. Ro then brought on a lawsuit to stop the slander online, after she was forced to go on hiatus for a year due to the abuse she received. Which leads to the conclusion that these were two livers going at each other, common woman moment, and creating media controversy in the process for a few weeks minimum. Meanwhile, Niji Sanji sat by while doing nothing. This one was entirely preventable on Niji Sanji's part. Had they released any form of public statement or conducted an internal investigation swiftly, none of this would have occurred. Instead, they waited a full 2 months before actually terminating Miro. By that time, the outrage campaign against Roa was already in full swing. Also, Miro was lying about her accent. She was copying Roa to eat into her viewer base, provided by screenshots from her own text. Whoa, Niji Sanji makes the livers pay for their own models. As far as I know, they do not in the main case. This used to be the case, but Sayu and nobody else mentioned anything like that. They still sell Roa's voice packs despite the fact she hasn't streamed in 3 years. Damn. Oh yeah, is she the... somebody brought her up on the forum fairly recently, I think, in relation to all of this. That she's still in the company records, but she just doesn't stream any longer. But for 3 years, she's not graduated or anything. She's still technically on the company's payroll. Well, not payroll, but that kind of stuff. Sayu said she had to pay... Luminous, she said she had to pay for her debut, but does that mean she had to pay for her model? Like, the two are different things. Because we know that Niji Sanji, as far as I'm aware, does all of their model designing and rigging in-house using their own like Niji Sanji sweatshop, which is why their rigging is so basic and so simplistic compared to indies. Because they have their own artists and riggers that they pay a very low sum. She still makes voice packs occasionally, and the voice packs cost Niji their case. What? I'm not sure what you mean by that win scene. She didn't have to pay for the model. Yeah, I thought so, Azahara. Yeah, she definitely didn't have to pay for the model. If she had to pay for her own model, then why the hell would you join Niji Sanji? Good grief. Getting a free model is one of the most large major reasons to join a corpo, because like at this point a fully rigged like industry standard model can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Pardon me. A black eye from Keemstar. Niji Sanji did try to sue Sabaki though, and lost spectacularly. Imagine that, a big billion-dollar corporation unable to prove that Sabaki was slandering their own talents, despite Japan's draconian slander laws, when they had clear-cut evidence that he used leaked information to start an anti-campaign against one of their talents. How long is this video?
So the first news story...
That is way too long, sorry. 9 minutes, I'm not gonna watch that. And there's Axia. Most of these people I've never even heard of. One moment, let me just skim read through this. It's a male, so no wonder. Oh, I think I remember a little bit of this too. Twitter translation. Also uploaded a video clarifying the specifics regarding possessive fans and people who baby him, and then dropped a diss track against them. What? Oh, video unavailable. This video is private. That's annoying. Oh well. Instead of trying to help him moderate his chat or support his attempt to return, Niji Sanji watched with their hands folded and accepted his graduation after he stated that it was difficult to continue his activities because what I wanted to do and the direction of Niji Sanji did not match. So basically, this guy was somebody that the Fujoshis latched onto. Do you think that the Japanese corpo loyalty comes from the idea that it's like a school and eventually they'll leave to create real entertainment? I have no idea. That's not a bad attitude. That's not a bad perspective to have, I suppose, Guildmates Troy, but I have no ability to comment on it. Narukami Sabaki is a guy who is basically Kyo and Keemstar combined. I want to see a talent debut with no overlay assets, etc., and say they didn't give me any monies for that, so I didn't get any. Niji Sanji JP is the creepy anime same-face waifu army. Azihara, basically the only thing they provide is a reputable brand name, advertisement, and paid music videos when it's a gen-wide song. Even so, you have to record audio for a song. If you have to record audio for a song, you have to cover that. So, that's why the English group songs are not exactly the best mixed. Ah, lovely, lovely water. I appreciate you so much. Pardon me. Let me see. Niji anti-harassment and suicide scandal regarding Alo. Oh, yes. So this is Mano Alo, aka the Great Hololive Martyr. Alo was an IRL friend of Chitosi before joining Hololive. Chitosi leaked some information about the toxic and poor management issues within Niji Sanji prior to Alo's Hololive debut. In a stream using her PL account, Alo brought this up in passing, but in a very vague way to steer clear of slandering any talents in Niji or the company itself. She mentioned the potential dangers of working for corporations and only mentioned Chitosi's name in passing. This led to Niji aunties to swarm her chat after she debuted with Hololive, going so far as to pretend they were Holo fans to harass her in chat. Shortly after, they doxed her, tracing her relations with Chitosi back to her PL, even going so far as to send death threats and spam calls to her house and family, most sane Niji sister behavior. Due to this, Alo also attempted to commit suicide and has thankfully recovered since. She left Hololive due to this abuse. Basically, Niji aunties drove her to attempt suicide. I have heard multiple different versions of how Alo's graduation went. I don't really know who to believe, but this, honestly, given everything that I know about Niji sisters, I can believe. Azihara-chan, Ien songs get mixed in the same bathtub. Keffel's Brazil guy mixes the hormones for his groom victims. Oh, that is a good joke, Azihara. That's a good joke. It's a horrifying joke, but it's a pretty good joke. I credit you. I compliment you for that one. We've already covered the Korean stuff, more or less. The final Yab, Niji En, and why overseas are up in arms. Here's a whole separate re-entry about the current various controversies from Niji En. Here's an incomplete list of it. Keep in mind this does contain some known bias from a known Enna schizo, but it does document some of the controversies that Niji En has been mired in. And of course, we have stuff like Vox Akuma's grooming allegations, Yuko's termination, AR. This was one of the funny things. Definitely. The AR live cancellation. This is fairly straightforward and adds into the Cluster F vibe at Niji Sanji. Basically, there was an AR concert planned for Niji Sanji EN. 19 livers were involved, and it was set to be a 3D debut for many of them. After months of effort, with many livers flying to Japan to practice and record for the concert, it was cancelled at the last minute. Cue mass protests and snide comments from the livers. It was officially cancelled, but many had hoped it would be made an indefinite postponement rather than a full cancellation. It's clear that the AR concert was officially cancelled, since it has been over a year with no word about any rescheduling for this event. I remember featuring this on the forum when it happened because it quite amused me. Mana's story is a tragedy. She tried to commit suicide by falling from her apartment several stories, but was saved by a tree cushioning her fall. Good grief. Damn. Oh, wow. I do know that she is a VTuber again now. I forget what her name exactly is, like Delutaya or something. But I'm very glad that she seems to be in a much better place now. I really do, because damn, can you imagine what would have happened if she had actually died? Can you imagine? We could have had the Niji Sanji collapse like years earlier, honestly. They should at least go to the McDonald's Pippa manages. The bathroom stall has better acoustics. Delutaya, yes, Delutaya. Delutaya. But yes, I featured the AR Live cancellation, and I made a joke about because it was during COVID, near the end of COVID, and I made a joke on the forum that Yagu had been seen coughing on the doorknob of the concert venue and running away beforehand. But yeah, this was obviously a massive, massive issue, and I can't believe how angry and sad the... was Selene, I'm curious, was Selene slated to be part of that? Love the green triangle? What do you mean green triangle? And we have false ID and Kyo that were copyright struck. 1 second, let me just glance through this. Hex Haywire, parasocial / donation yab. Hex roleplayed as a therapist. It goes about as well as you would expect. A fan posted a picture of them cutting themselves and posted it publicly while asking for Hex to cure them. He did clarify that he wanted to establish a boundary, but then proceeded to tell his fans the trauma dump through his Streamlab. Also, a bit of racism involving Sikhs and turbans. This is just the surface level details of his concerning actions. There is further info with sources in that video. Honestly, are you surprised at that point? And this, right here, I was hoping to get this. 1 second, let me blow my nose before I continue. But this is amazing. The video speaks for itself. Basically, Millie planned a collab with a good chunk of Niji EN and created a 4chan-esque stream where the livers made some questionable comments and such, and I believe that this is the archive. Is there actually any speaking for this? There is not. This is just... I'll post this in chat as well, because I'm not going to ask people to watch all of this. Here is the link. I mean, it's on the it's in the document, but there it is. I watched that 4chan stream the other day. I cannot fathom how anyone thought that was a good idea, like actually incapable of having a social media account unsupervised. Yep, no audio. But yeah, this is something that is just demented. You've seen it in the thumbnail of this video as well, that for some insane reason, Millie Parfait thought it was a good idea to fake a Discord channel used by 4chan users. Her most disgusting streams by far. Yeah, why would you do this? I really wish that I had been streaming around the time that Millie did that, because that would have been worthy of like 2 or 3 reaction streams at bare minimum, because good grief. Now remember, this is the same company that we now know with a decent amount of certainty has a very draconian social media policy, where it's because Zion has been strongly implied by multiple people and has been pretty directly told to me by people who are capable of giving me this kind of information, that Niji Sanji is very, very draconian now about their social media presence. They have all of their livers vet tweets and so on. They have no independent Discord servers, etc. People are expected to properly... What's with the werewolf girl RP ASMR Proctor Charmer? What are you talking about? So they've gone from allowing the talents to do just about everything to just about doing nothing, and it's so indicative of a company clumsily flailing around without any ability to actually accomplish anything. And then there's Kyo Kaneko, who I've already covered, but he mentioned that Korea was a medical tourism destination, and it was a stale joke, and he doubled down on it, and then he was suspended for 2 weeks. Which would make sense if Millie is part of the privileged class in Niji. She has the 4chan brain rot. The only explanation is the talents do that, and they're used to the narratives and ways of speak on VT. Luminous, nobody's can't handle having social media accounts. 20-somethings with no experience suddenly having millions of eyes on them can't be left without a wrangler. It was in your recommend. You actually listen to RP ASMR? No, I don't. I have no interest in ASMR content whatsoever. I have severe personal space issues because, again, I have autism. So my personal space and my personal boundaries are incredibly important to me. I absolutely despise it when people approach me and invade my personal space. And so the problem with ASMR is that a lot of it sounds very much like somebody is very, very close to your head and is kind of moving back and forth between your ears, whispering things into your ears. And that just really triggers my sense of personal space invasion. And I think it's a shame because the concept of ASMR I'm perfectly fine with, and I can understand why you would enjoy ASMR, but unfortunately I just cannot deal with it personally. Because it triggers a part of my brain that is the do not want part of my brain, which I just can't stand. I'm sorry. Give me just 1 second. I need to sip on something nice and syrupy. Proctor has autism? No way! Not even Korsha ASMR. Do not the Korsha, please. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, that hits different. I just had a sip of sour cherry juice after chewing on a strong piece of chewing. I'm gonna have another one. I'm gonna refresh and go in again. Ooh. And that was quite a strong hit. Mint and sour stuff is always an interesting experience. Amarina sour cherries in syrup. Very tasty. Let me just look back at a couple of things. Give me a few seconds. Coming up to the 3-hour mark, you would deny your Korsha its purpose. Shut up, Luminous. Shut up. Proctor, you have to end within 14 minutes because Pippa is starting soon. I mean, we're coming up to the 3-hour mark anyway, so I usually only stream for about 3 hours at a setting because I have not yet developed streamer throat, where I am magically able to talk for 10 hours at a time without getting a sore throat. I am most definitely reaching the point where my throat is starting to hurt. And I've covered this as well. Raziel Warmonic on Twitter claimed to be Luca's former girlfriend, and that she claimed that Luca didn't write his own signed birthday merch and had her write it for him. She also wrote his voice packs for him. She also carried out much of the work on his Minecraft projects. And this is the most hilarious part of all, is that after she went on this massive Twitter pity party, which I don't think she was lying about, mind you, because we know for a fact that they were in a relationship. And here's the thing, is that she was a married woman, and that she groomed Luca when he was either underage or just above the age of consent. If this is true, there should be an instant termination. I mean, we know that she and him were in a relationship. Multiple people have come out and independently verified the fact they have been in a relationship. No question. The details of that relationship are not as clear. She makes multiple claims that he was using her to build in his Minecraft accounts and all that kind of stuff, etc. We don't know if that is true. The fact that she was in a relationship with him is true. Her claims are up in the air, but I can believe it. I can really believe them. I can believe that she was a stream moderator for him. That is absolutely confirmed. Imagine having your GF build your autism Minecraft project for you. I mean, I can understand. I'm bad at Minecraft building. It's funny, I am a very artistic person, but I find building in block games to be quite difficult. I'm very big on symmetry and organization, and I find naturally, building naturalistic looking structures is hard for me. I like everything symmetrical, smooth, even, and precise. It's why, if you see on my Discord, I now have an art channel where I'm just posting stuff that I'm making in Inkscape every so often. Actually, we have Moth Enjoyer posting entirely sane things about moths again. He groomed her back harder. Knowing how Niji EN handles NDAs with artists and other third parties that aren't their own talents, it's possible she didn't sign any so she can say whatever. If you're a stream moderator, it seems to me that the stream moderators are more or less put there by the talents themselves, as far as I know. And that would be one thing. If I ever ran a VTuber company for any reason, this is something that I have been taught by experience. You vet your moderators. You really vet your moderation staff very heavily before you allow them any kind of control over your brand, over your channel, etc. You absolutely do not let unqualified moderators into your chat. Art channel Pog. Yeah, Denna, it's right there. Also, Denna, when are you streaming next? I want to see you do more. I want to see you draw more of my character design, okay? Draw more and have one of those nice jackets as well. I want to see you do that in Krita. You scribbled it, you did it on physical media. Now I want to see a version of that in Krita, okay? Luminous, I hate how much grooming is being thrown around these days. It's become such a worthless term. Any bad relationship these days is grooming or abuse. I more or less agree with you. Yes, she can say whatever, but Luca leaking things to her and she's leaking it forward is confirmation of Luca breaking NDA. I agree. I would say so. You heard that, Thrang? You were vetted. You were special. I mean, Thrang was very much vetted. He's a dog. Of course I vetted him. Stop being a V-tweeter, Dana. I mean, she literally had her laptop taken away from her, so her streaming ability was compromised. If you need some AI yeah, Asahara is the one to hit up for that. I don't know when to stream. TWT, EEP, schedule all over the place. Oh, I see what you mean. You sleep schedule is all over the place. Just stream whenever you want to do art. Stream right now. Don't stream right now because Pippa's online in a few minutes. Stream when you're comfortable. I'll be just make sure you let me know when beforehand so I can actually watch. Promote yourself, woman. Promote yourself. Always neuter your moderators. Yeah, do the Kirsche thing where she just castrates all of her moderators. You must surrender your penis to the Kirsche before she'll allow you to moderate for them. Yeah, but Luca makes money. That's yeah, in a nutshell, that's the underscore of the point, Danny D, is that they don't care that Luca is breaking his NDA because he's making them lots of money. So are you saying Thrang was neutered? I mean, remember that Thrang is Pippa's trans sister, so of course he's neutered. Like, he's on the HRT, he's on the hormones. So of course he's neutered. Like, Thrang is confirmed sterile. Stream when you are comfortable. I mean, I am literally trying to force myself to stream to be consistent. Selene also made money. Yeah, I know. Selene did make money, but she also had a lot of issues with the company. And we've covered this before, is that Selene was obviously somebody who wanted to push the company in a different direction. And the company was just like, nah, Japanese business, we don't care. Get in your corner, get in your shed. Stop talking. Oh, blimey, my stomach just rumbled like mad. Woo. Thrang is the abused stepchild rejected by the parents. Surrender your penis to Kirsche. Here I wonder why you haven't enlisted yet. I'm a dominant man. I don't surrender my penis to any woman. Isn't Dogman confirmed to be Zax the furry group? Look, you don't understand that Thrang is a multi-dimensional being. We are seeing his fingers reaching through into our dimension. Thrang is simultaneously Zax the furry groomer, and he is also Pippa's little trans sister, all right? And he is also the person who is specifically grooming Pippa to push forward the underage agenda that she brings up every so often. He's... I don't want to see a bunch of Thranglets running around. Yes, do not worry. Thrang will never breed. We can confirm. I am a dominant man, not with your voice. No. Is that how you summon the Korsha? By giving up your manhood? Is that what... Shut up. My manhood has not gone anywhere, thank you. You are all you are all just jealous, okay? You want me to post pictures of my manhood, but I am not going to do it, and no amount of negging on your part will get me to do it, okay? Let's just agree to that fact. I'm not going to. You are not going to catch me doing a pro Jared, all right? Oh, wow! My stomach is really growling. I realize I've only had a single meal today, so I'm going to need to architect Max after this stream. Yeah, Proctor only gets nicked by Kirsha. You brought that up on your own. Excuse me. You obviously aren't part of the Discord. They bring that up all the time. Anyway, we only have a couple of minutes left, so let's look at this a little bit further. Now, this is interesting. This is quite interesting. Kuro was screwed over by Niji Sanji's own incompetent management. He was recommended an accountant by Niji Sanji, and that accountant turned out to be less than useless. Instead of helping him with taxes, the accountant put him in $300,000 of debt. It was Vhosho that eventually helped him move on past from it. He has also been vocal about Niji Sanji's mistreatment and terrible management as Kuro. And this is the thing, again, if I were ever to manage a VTuber company, the first thing that I would do is go to my very close friend who is an economist and ask him, can you recommend me a decent financial advisor who can tell me how to do talents, taxes, and stuff for them? Because, my goodness, these people cannot be trusted with any amount of money whatsoever, and I do not want to be responsible when they all mess it up themselves and argue with me over who's to blame. Clipped, by the way. Okay, if you say so. I don't know what you just clipped. You brought... the only thing I'm jealous of is the tea bunker. I need more. I need tea after this. I absolutely need tea. But yeah, never allow management to handle their own taxes. That's just asking for a recipe. That's just a recipe for disaster at this point. And here's the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity stuff. And this is interesting. This is Mika. Now, Mika was one of the most successful Niji Sanji ID members, and I actually quite liked Mika. Mika was pretty much the only Niji Sanji member, aside from Enna, that I actually watched much of. These people can't even cook a meal. Imagine them doing taxes. I agree, Asihara. I would not trust any talents under my control to do their taxes. Absolutely not. So... Militika Mika felt as though she was a mere stepping stone within the company and felt like she was a burden. Now, this person said that she was a burden even though she was by far one of the most successful Niji Sanji ID talents. She was up there with Kobo Kanaru in terms of success. She was Niji Sanji's answer to Kobo. And she is a very talented entertainer. She genuinely deserves all the success that she's gotten. This also reinforces previous mentions from Kuro and Matara on how Niji Sanji makes people feel like they are worthless without the company. And as he highlights here, when none, not a single former liver has anything good to say about the workplace, it's probably not a good sign. Mika was the top ID talent, I agree. I bet Mr. never paid taxes before this, going from not paying taxes because you are below the poverty line to paying taxes for a $1 million income. She was the top Niji ID, yeah, exactly. But mainly because she got a ton of EN viewers, yeah. But Proctor, tax dodging is an obligation. I mean, this is the thing. from knowing somebody who is an extremely competent person who is good with taxes, is that a man who literally gives people business cards saying repeal the 16th Amendment, which is the tax amendment, by the way, for those who don't know. It's much more fun to legally screw the IRS out of their money. The American tax law system is set up in such a way that, yeah, you can get screwed over an awful lot, but that's the benefit. That's the bonus. If you have a competent tax guy, he can screw the IRS just as hard, and there is nothing they can do about it. That's the secret. You just have to get yourself a good financial guy, a good tax guy. Sayu also confirmed the company did its best to make the talent feel dependent. Precisely. Now, I'm sorry to bring things to a relatively abrupt end, but I know that Pippa is going to be live very, very soon. And I am not stupid enough to think that I can compete with Pippa for your attention and viewership. And also, as I said earlier, that my throat is still not brilliant, and we are coming up on almost exactly 3 hours, which has been my typical stream time. That's how Trump never paid taxes. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you all politely, because again, I cannot raid yet. I do not have the numbies for raid. I can't raid Pippa, okay? I can't. Like, it is physically impossible for me to do so because I do not have that capability on YouTube. However, of course, I will pin a link to Pippa's stream in the channel. So please, where is... Is her waiting room up? Videos, live. Where even is her stream? Like, where's her stream? Why has she got so much stuff? Oh, there. Is that it? Here it is. Here it is. Why has she got like 6 waiting rooms up all at once? I remember at some point the top ID talent was Hana Makia, but she screwed up. I mean, communism does things to people. I think you overestimate how many Pippa watchers are here. I mean, again, I kind of want to go anyway because my stomach is actually rumbling like mad. My stomach is physically causing me pain probably because I've been chewing gum most of the evening. So yeah, you can all go and open a Pippa tab now, and I am going to go and have something to eat. I'm going to go Architect Max tonight. Gigadramon 6, there's nothing legally they can do about it. Cat and Dankula has a video on a guy that they screwed over in questionably legal ways. Yeah, I know. Proctor, get a clip tag, you femboy. Maybe when people make clips that are worth my attention. She committed to a game by putting the waiting rooms up in advance. Oh, I see. Damned Lurker, good stream. Thank you very much. And I can see she's not even live yet. Of course she's not live. She's late. She's late and she hates us. I love how our guidelines are just one rule. Fuck you. And then right below that, remember to keep comments respectful and to within our community guidelines. But yeah, she's playing Katawa Shoujo. Thanks for the stream. I'm very glad that all of you enjoyed tonight's stream. Just before you go, I just want to say that next time I stream, I'm going to be doing... The format is going to be fairly similar from now on. I'm going to be probably reading a few bits of news, and then I'm going to try and get onto VTuber-related stuff. I really do appreciate everybody watching me, and I am hopeful that I can be a little bit more than entertainment for you, but also a tiny bit informative in at least some way or another. Looking forward to that EVE Online stream. That's 365 days in the future, isn't it? But I will bid you all a very fond farewell for now. Good night, and please have a nice time, especially in Pippa's stream. Have fun, and good night. Oh yes, and Denna, you need to start streaming again. And again, I want you set up your business PayPal so I can actually pay you stuff and make another model for me, because your original one is quite fun. Good night.